Friday. It starts now. It's the Sports Bash live. 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, live video streaming on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Mike Gill. Josh Henry is producing today's show. You out there. Fun show today. It's Friday. It's a NFL Friday 5 Friday. We're going to look at week 6 this week in the NFL. 5 favorite games from week 6 in the NFL. We're moving along in the Friday 5. Phil's last night, lose to the Mets, and a lot in this game. You know, some nights there's a game, it's just a 6-3 loss, but the game has bigger meaning to it. I thought last night was one of those games. Adam Caplan, football at 4. Mike and Bob Friday, baseball chat. Phillies fastball tonight at 5 o'clock. Mike McGarry will join us. The Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. It's a busy show. We're jam-packed. Love it on a Friday. But the game last night, the game is the microcosm of the Phillies' problems here, right? It's everything all wrapped into one. It's everything that you would say is wrong with this Phillies team. And it's everything in there that you just can't get past. You face a guy who's left-handed in Sean Manaea, you struggle. The struggles of your lineup to hit against a left-handed pitcher. You have to replace Trey Turner in the game last night. More on that coming up in a minute. But Schwarber's kind of neutralized last night because Manaea's tough on lefties. Schwarber, Harper, those guys don't give you much. They struck out 3 times in 8 at-bats. Bohm goes 2 for 4. He has a good game for you last night. But when Bohm has a good game, nobody else does. Marsh, 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts. It's the microcosm, Brandon Marsh, of everybody wants Marsh to play every day until they see him face a tough lefty and he strikes out 3 times. And it's like, man, I think Marsh has had a really good year. I'm not here to rip Brandon Marsh. But do I really think that Brandon Marsh should face left-handed pitching? Does my ceiling, do I reach my ceiling if Brandon Marsh is hitting in the middle of my lineup against left-handed pitching? Probably not. Do I say he doesn't deserve the opportunity? That's not what I'm saying. Brandon Marsh deserves the opportunity. He's having a great year. He's basically been one of your top 2 to 3 players, and he's hit lefties for the most part. He's hitting 266 against lefties, but that number is starting to dip as he's facing them more and more. Unfortunately, I just don't have another option, so I have to keep running him out there. But the on-base percentage against lefties is .304. The batting average is .266. The slug is .391. The OPS is .695. The numbers against lefties are just not good. But I need them. I don't have anybody else. Last night's game is the game. When I face that tough lefty, do I have enough? Now, Aaron Nola, he kept you in the game last night. 5 innings, 6 strikeouts. He only gave up 2 runs last night. They're both homers. He gives up the home run to Sosa in the first inning, and then Soto, in the first inning, and then again in the third. Just a couple solo shots. So he gives up 2 runs, 3 overall, 2 earned. You had the fielding error that was made by Nola. So he indirectly, if the pitcher makes the error, can you call it an unearned run? I mean, an unearned run if you, in fact, are the one that makes the error.
No, you can't do that. It's of course your fault.
Right. That should be an earned run. If the pitcher makes the error, you can't let him off the hook. You have to charge him for the run.
Do you know how confused I was last night when I kept looking at the box score afterward? I was like, wait a minute. Should there be 3 earned runs here?
So Nola, though, pitches 5 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 6 strikeouts in the game. He gave up the 2 home runs. I mean, he was just okay. He's not solid. Why you he's not why you lost the game last night.
Definitely not.
There's a lot of nights where he gives up 5 early and you can't get back in the game and you're done. He gives up 2 in the first, you score 1. He gives up 1 in the third, you score 1. Then you score 4. It's a 3-3 game, and now it's a bullpen game. And this is where the Phillies, I think, are now on a different level. because now Seth Johnson came in last night, and I thought he threw really well.
Seth Johnson did his job.
Came in the 6th, struck out 2, and bang, bang, got out of that inning. But you got an Alvarado problem now.
Huge problem.
You got an Alvarado problem where the guy's ERA is now approaching 7, and you can't keep putting him out there in high leverage situations. You've already sent Tanner Banks down to the minors. So now 2 of your lefties that you were counting on big time, Banks, who had a big role last year, Alvarado, who was disappointing last year because of the suspension. You were hoping, okay, he bounces back and he gets back to where he was before the suspension. That's not happening. It hasn't happened. And remember, Alvarado a couple of years ago got to the point where you had to send him down to the minors. You almost might have to think about something like that with him to tweak something. Now, he seems like, and Oscar has talked a lot about this on Phillies Fastball. He seems like he's out of shape. He seems like he's just, and maybe that's one of the reasons why he got popped last year for what he got popped for. But Alvarado, he just seems like, the ERA at 6.58. And I thought he said something pretty interesting after the game last night. And he said after the game is what was successful for me in my career is I throw 100 miles an hour. He says, well, now everybody does. So I'm no more special than the other guy. Before you would see me come in and I'm throwing 100 mile per hour right past people. Now everybody's throwing 100 miles an hour. So they're seeing more of what made me good. So he needs to kind of reevaluate what he is as a pitcher right now. And what he is not as a pitcher is a high leverage situation guy. That's a problem.
And listen, I'm not trying to cast aspersions, but I'm glad you brought up the point about the PED test last year, because it wasn't like he took an anabolic steroid. He took a pill, for lack of a better term, that basically helped him lose weight. He lost almost 20 some pounds, and he was in the best shape of his life. He looked way more effective after he lost the weight. Well, he stopped taking whatever, I forget the name of what he was taking, but points he stopped taking it. He gains the weight back, and now he's struggling again. So there obviously is a correlation between his weight and his control on that mound, because, Mike, how many times last night did you look up and you're like, this guy has no command?
No command, and it's been a problem for him before. They sent him down. They brought him back up. He was solid, then the thing, and now back, and he is just not good. So we'll see. And I bring him up because he gives up the 3 runs last night, but him and Keller were supposed to be a big part of this.
Yes.
Of why you thought this team would be better. The Phillies organization, myself included. I thought the Phillies would be better only because their bullpen last year was disaster.
Right.
And that, man, you got Alvarado, you got Keller, you got Duran for the full year. You've got to be better. Well, that's not happening. That's not happening because Alvarado and Keller are not automatics. Duran might be an automatic, but the 2 guys in front of him are not right now. So that is, and I'm going to talk to, Bob Wankel for the Mike and Bob Friday Baseball Chat. Jeff Kerr tweeted something out last night, and Jeff's going to join us for the Fastball a little bit later on. He said the Phillies needs in order. How would you rank the needs in order for the Phillies?
I would say there's 3 main needs.
He listed 4.
Okay, well, I got 3. So,
and I think one of them's a little bit
nitpicky.
I mean, yeah. Well, we'll read them off in a minute here, but let's see what everybody thinks out there. 609-403-0973 on the White Horse RV text board. Jeff Kerr listed 4 needs, and he went in order. How would you list your needs in order?
Right now, I would probably put a bullpen pitcher, number 1, because it's starting to become very, very obvious that the Phillies' evaluation of what they thought Keller was going to be versus what he is, the disappointment of Alvarado, the hope that Banks was going to be able to fill the Matt Strahm void, all of those things, Mike, it's not good. And right now, you're living in a world where you're hoping that somebody steps up, and they really haven't. So you could make an argument that if you don't improve the bullpen, you are DOA in the postseason.
Well, it's on his list now. He's got left-handed reliever number 3 on the list.
I mean, is that because you feel like Kerkering is at least reliable enough to be the right-handed guy? Is that maybe the thinking?
I guess so. I mean, well, right now, if you need a left-hander to get somebody out, who you going to?
No one.
So I think that's why he specifically has left-handed reliever. Now, I haven't talked to him about this. He'll be on at 5 o'clock tonight for the fastball, but he has left-handed reliever. Why? Alvarado can't trust. Banks demoted.
Right.
Right now you have Tim Meza, and I guess Backus is in the minor leagues. He's been hurt, so possibly when he comes back. But are Tim Backus and Tim Meza good enough left-handed relievers to help you get through the playoffs? So I think that's why he's got left-handed reliever, because you do have Kerkering and Keller should be back, and I guess both of those guys aren't going anywhere. So you're not going to trade for another right-handed reliever. You spent $11 million on one, and you have Kerkering, who's been pretty good. I can't imagine that they go out and get another right-handed reliever. I do kind of agree that you need a left-handed guy.
I think that's fair. I think the way you explained it is fair. I would just like to see them get one more random right-hander just to have another guy. But I understand that you spent a ton of money on Keller, so you're at this point you're stuck with what you invested in.
All right, so he's got that at number 3 on his list.
You got to go right-handed bat. This team, and not Derek Hill, right-handed bat. Like, you got to get somebody, we've talked about the Joe Adells of the world, and somebody who I know you're not going to be able to go out and get like the biggest name out there because you don't have the prospects to trade, but you got to find somebody who is at least, you could put him in the outfield, you could put him at bat, and you're not sitting there thinking we're going to lose the game because this guy's at bat.
He's got right-handed bat as the number 1 need, obviously, for this team. I would agree. They need a right-handed bat. The problem is it's easy to say a big-time right-handed hitter. That guy just simply is not out there. And even if he is out there, the Phillies don't have enough to acquire that guy.
Well, that's what I just said. I was saying that I wasn't saying a big right-handed bat. I've already conceded the idea that you don't have the prospects to get the biggest name on the market.
So your biggest need is also the toughest thing to acquire. So therefore, it seems like the biggest pipe dream of them all. Yes, I need a right-handed bat. Everybody knows that. Can I make it my number 1 need? Sure. But do I have enough to get this and fix that need? And if I don't, do I then focus and make one of my other needs even stronger?
Right.
Like, that's where they're kind of at right now. Whereas I know I need a right-handed bat. I know I need to get that right-handed bat, but I can't afford it right now. I just don't have it. Right. It's like everybody has that want in their life that they would like to have. You're taking that long distance trip. You want to get first class, but you just can't afford it. I just can't put it in the budget. So I'll have to sit, and I'm going to still have a good time when I get to my destination. But that 10-hour flight might be more miserable than I want it to be.
Well, for example, I was reading at least what I could read of John Heyman's article before I was paywalled out of it. But, one of the things he talked about is the conversation that you, Jeff, and Oscar talked about yesterday's Phillies Fastball, which is there are names out there, but are those names guys the Phillies really want to get? Heyman mentioned Matt Chapman and the idea of, do the Phillies want to really take on another expensive aging player? You guys mentioned yesterday about Phillies Fastball. John Heyman said he doesn't even know if the Red Sox even want to trade Wilson Contreras, right? So there are names out there, but the question is, are they guys that you can even get or want to get? And that's the predicament you're in.
The Chapman thing, I just don't want the contract and the age. I mean, if you're saying I need to go try to win this year and this year only, and I don't care about because the team is going to be bad anyway, you're bringing in a guy who, by the way, right now is hitting .252 with 7 home runs. I mean, your current third baseman, outside of the fact that he's been here for a while and he frustrates you, his numbers are no worse than Matt Chapman's are. Well, now, is Matt Chapman a better player than Alec Bohm?
Matt Chapman's a better player than Alec Bohm, but right now, Alec Bohm has become one of your most dependable hitters. He is top 5 in the National League in RBI this month. He is actually giving you something that half the team isn't. So now let me ask you a question, Mike. Is the argument do you sell high on Alec Boehm at the deadline?
I don't think you're selling high on Alec Boehm.
I'm just
Alec
saying,
Boehm is what he is.
I know that, and you know that, but
so you're saying that you know that and I know that, but major league teams don't know that?
Well, listen, how many teams make bad trades all the time?
I think Alec Boehm is what he is. Teams know that. You're not getting anything of value for Alec Boehm, and that's why I think and by the way, again, I'm not an Alec Boehm hater by any stretch of the imagination. I understand what he is. I think some people just want him to be more than what he is. He's a guy that right now, you're right, he's coming around, but he's still what he is. He's an average guy. He shouldn't be hitting 4th or 5th. He probably should be hitting 6th or 7th, somewhere in that range. He has had a good run here recently. He did this last year. He was off to a terrible start. Then he came around. And, quite frankly, on this team, sadly, he's one of your better guys. Matt Chapman, historically, better, more power than Alec Boehm.
Yes.
Right now, they're very comparable players.
Yeah, so it's the names that are out there. There's no real obvious name.
And by the way, sorry to cut you off. The one big difference is Boehm's a free agent at the end of the year. Chapman has $100 million left on his deal.
Correct.
And is an older player than Boehm is.
Right, and that's what the John Heyman article was saying is, do the Phillies really want to acquire another aging player for a lot of money? And that's the conversation that you, Oscar, and Jeff yesterday said, which was no.
Yeah, Chapman, 33 years old, has $100 million, I think 40 years left on the deal. He's hitting .252 with 7 home runs this year.
4 years if you include this year.
And so Alec Boehm is hitting .232 with 9 homers and 41 RBIs. He has more homers. They have the same amount of RBI. Now, Boehm's OPS 657, Chapman 737. I mean, they're both similar players at this stage right now. This season. Now, again, Chapman's been the better, more consistent power guy, but he really hasn't even been I don't say historic, but he had 27 homers in 2024, 27 homers in 2022, 27 homers in 2021. There is some consistency there. But last year he had 21 homers. He has 7 right now. You wonder if the power's starting to drain out of him a little bit. So I don't know that trade
makes a lot of sense.
Huge upgrade.
Yeah.
Now, is his presence bigger than Boehm's is if he's hitting in the 4-hole? I don't know.
Marginally, maybe. To me, the big upside of Chapman isn't as much just the power as much as it is. You could argue he is a much better defensive third baseman.
Chapman's been better defensive player. Yes.
He's been that his entire career. Do you look at him and say, look, whatever power we get out of him is great, but we know that him behind the pitchers is going to be an upgrade. Maybe you talk yourself into it that way. But again, if we're having this conversation, it just shows you to the previous point you just made, Mike, which is there's not a lot of options out there.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not saying that Boehm and Chapman or Boehm is better than Chapman or anything like that. I'm saying for the contract, I don't think it's a significant enough upgrade.
Right.
And right now, Chapman and Boehm this season, you're getting comparable players. Chapman's been better than Boehm. He's probably a better player to have, but is he worth $100 million over the next 4 years?
Right. When
you're
we're
saying.
When you're already got.
That's what you're taking into consideration. It's not just, of course, Chapman's better than Boehm. Is he $100 million for the next 4 years better than Boehm? Right. And to that, I would say probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah. And listen, that's where this team, as Kerr puts his needs in order, right-handed bat, number 1. Now they put bat that gets on base, number 2.
That's a real flaky one.
Ooh, you don't like that one.
I don't like that one because
I like the bat that gets on base, but
I like it in theory, but
you need a guy that gets on base. One of the problems with this team is their on-base percentage is the worst in baseball.
Listen, I get that, but you're also talking about Kenny Lofton ain't walking through that door, right? Like there's not a bunch of guys who are like, on base studs in Major League Baseball today. Like most of the guys with high on base percentages are like guys like Ohtani, for goodness sake. So saying you need an on base guy is it's like the right-handed bat. It's way easier said than done. Like, what are you going to try to do? Go out and get Luis Arias, have another left-hander in the lineup?
Gets on base a lot. I mean, here's the guy who was always on base, always on base. You can't score runs unless guys are on base. The Phillies never have anybody on base.
So, I mean, are you saying, what would you do? Would you trade Bryson Stott for Luis Arias and just put Arias at second base?
That's a tough one. I mean, because Arias is not a good defensive player. Now, Arias is a guy who, as we said, that we were talking about him the other day. He hits in the, he's a guy who generally hits in the top of the order. His on-base percentage is 360, though. I mean, you have to consider that. If you want a guy to be on base, the problem is he going to hit in the top of this lineup? Is he going to hit 2? You're going to put Schwarber 1, Arias 2, Harper 3, and go left? Probably not.
No.
So the problem with him is, and by the way, against lefties, he hits 303. Against righties, he hits 337. So he hits. He plays second base. He's not great. He plays some third. Not great. He's just not a good defensive player. But his on-base percentage is something this team needs. The problem is he going to hit in the top of the order? Probably not.
I mean, you could make the argument that maybe your lineup would be Arias, Turner, Harper, Schwarber. Maybe you lengthen the lineup, but that's totally against what the Phillies like to do, which the Phillies like to have their 3 best hitters at the top. So do you then put Arias in the 9 hole? Well, that feels like a waste.
Again, you're in a situation where you are so left-handed. To add another left-handed bat makes Arias a tough fit for this team.
Right. And outside of Arias, there's not exactly a bunch of on-base guys who would be available at the deadline.
Yeah. I listen, goes back to what he said, a guy who's on base. I think that's a little nitpicky, but he's not wrong. They need to find a guy that gets on base because your guys that are supposed to get on base on this team aren't getting on base.
Correct.
Trey Turner doesn't get on base right now. And quite frankly, I think his mechanics are so off right now that I don't know that he's salvageable for this season. He might need a whole off season to kind of get his hips are flying open. I think his timing is off big time. He's got that big leg kick.
He's not seeing the ball at all.
He is pulling his head off. His hips are opening up. We had a good conversation with Dave Gallagher about that on Wednesday's show. But you're looking at on-base percentage right now. His 276 of all the regulars right now, it's the worst on the team because Garcia is no longer here. So of all the regulars, Trey Turner, 276 on-base percentage. It's the worst on the team. Schwarber, 361. Bohm, 283. Harper, 360. Marsh, 352. Stott, 295. Crawford, 292. Real Muto, 286. I mean, he's got the worst on-base percentage. The only guy who's worse, and he doesn't play, but he's starting to play every day, is Sosa. Sosa's the only one whose on-base percentage is worse than Turner's, but I don't really consider Sosa an everyday player at this time, although he is starting to get a lot more play because they need him to play left field. I'm assuming he'll play shortstop if Turner is out for any extended period of time. Let's hear the update on what Don Mattingly had to say about Trey Turner's latest injury.
Well, they're calling calf contusion. Got hit in a tough spot and right above the bottom of the calf. I'm not a doctor, but towards the bottom where it starts getting in the Achilles, he was having trouble putting pressure, pushing off. And with Trey, with the history, some hamstring and other things with the legs, I think he was having more trouble. He said he had trouble on defense, felt like he was a liability on defense, so he couldn't really move. Hopefully it's day off tomorrow. Hopefully he'll be good by the night game. We'll see.
This goes back to, do you just give him some time? Now, he had a couple hits the other day, so I'm assuming they're like, hey, we want to try to get him back, but we'll see. We'll see how they play us. They're off tonight. Phillies are actually off on a Friday night. Go figure. The Phillies do not have a game on a Friday night because of the World Cup being in Philadelphia tonight, so they will not play tonight. They'll get back in action tomorrow. We're going to talk a lot of Phils throughout the course of the day today. McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City will join us. And Mike Bob, Friday baseball chat at 3 o'clock today. He'll join us. Also, Phillies fastball tonight, NFL Friday 5. We're very, very busy. And we got a poll question for you at Mike Gill Show. By the way, Jeff Kerr's 4 needs. Number 5 starter. Number 4, number 5 starter. Number 3, a left-handed reliever. Number 2, a bat that gets on base, high on-base percentage. And number 1, a right-handed bat. So we'll go down that list with him and kind of get his breakdown of it coming up a little bit later on tonight in the Sports Bash this hour of the show. And it's brought to you by the law offices of Craig A. Altman.
Listen, it's summertime and car accidents are everywhere. So if you get into a car accident, don't hope for the best. You need to have a better strategy than the Phillies lineup does right now. You need to have law offices of Craig A. Altman, the tough lawyers who can handle the tough cases. They know how to take on the insurance companies, and they are right here in New Jersey. Give them a call at 856 327 8899, located in Vineland. They are the ones you call with car accidents, slip and falls, workplace injuries. They got you covered. They've done it all. They've handled every type of case, and they can handle yours as well. For a free consultation, visit them online at craigaltmanlaw.com.
All right, more sports bets on the way. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. The weekend preview is next. All right, 2:32. The weekend is here. Let's take a look at it. No Phils and Mets tonight, but last night's game, interesting. We'll dive into it. Kind of a microcosm of the Phillies' problems. Nola, okay, not great. He didn't lose the game for you. You turned it over to your bullpen. You face a lefty, can't score. It's all wrapped into one. We see it a lot. But last night you're facing Sean Manaea, a guy who has shut you down in the playoffs before, and now you see him in the game last night. And they scored 3 runs off him. Not terrible, but it's a 3-3 game. You go to the bullpen, and they can't get the job done. So our buddy Jeff Kerr posted his 4 needs for this team in order. See what Mike McGarry says as we are 75 games into the Phillies season right now, June 19th. They are off on a Friday night for the first time in my lifetime. I don't remember them ever being off on a Friday night. But Mike, 75 games into the season now. We know what some of the needs are, but how would you rank the needs of this team right now?
Interesting question there, Mike. I think they still need a bat, right? And we've talked about that right-handed bat for, it seems like years, probably because we have. But right now, I'm at the point where I'll take any bat. I'll take a left-handed bat. I'll take a right-handed bat. I just think they need another quality bat, and I don't think they're in a position to quibble whether that guy is right or left-handed. So a bat is number one. And then number 2 for me is probably some bullpen help, particularly a left-hander in the bullpen. You look at yesterday, they send down Tanner Banks, a lefty. Jose Alvarado has been shaky this season, and he gives up the 3 runs last night, so he hasn't been good. That kind of leaves you with Tim Meza in the bullpen. He's more a 5th, 6th inning guy. I don't view him as a high leverage guy. Kyle Bassett is a guy who's intriguing, who has some potential, but, we haven't seen him. He's been hurt since April, and we haven't seen him do it yet. So, to me, I'd go a left-handed reliever, probably second. And then third, a starting pitcher, a guy who can kind of keep you in the game, a 4th or 5th starter. You have the big 3 in Sanchez, Wheeler, and Luzardo. Most part for the playoffs, you can get through the playoffs with 3 starters. You probably need a 4th starter once or twice. So that's why I put that third. So I'd go bat, righty or lefty. I'm not going to argue. A lefty reliever 2, and then starting pitching 3.
Last night you take a look at the Alvarado situation. We saw what happened with Painter. We can get into that in a minute. Do they have to start thinking about something for Alvarado as well?
Yeah, well, that's why I think about getting a lefty reliever in here, because right now, obviously Tanner Banks hasn't been good this season after being very good last season, and so they send him down. And Alvarado has just been inconsistent, Kind of last night was a microcosm of the season. He's probably a drop strike away from or a foul tip being caught from getting out of that inning, because if Realmuto catches the foul tip, then Vientos is out, the inning is over. However, in that situation with 2 outs ahead in the count, you cannot walk Mark Vientos, who the Mets have kind of soured on, and probably chases more pitches outside the strike zone than just about any hitter I've ever seen. So you can't, in one way, Alvarado was a dropped foul tip from getting out of the situation. But even though JT doesn't hang on to a foul tip, you cannot walk Vientos with 2 outs in that spot. And that's what Alvarado did. And that's going to cause trouble down the line. So I'm not really, my trust factor in Alvarado right now is not good. Like I said, Mays is not a late inning guy, and Bacchus, who knows? So to me, they'll be in the market for a left-handed reliever as we get closer, to the trade deadline.
Painter, they said that he's going to go down. He's not going to pitch. What's your read on this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, right? And everybody kind of brings up the Roy Halladay situation, right? Where, Halladay gets sent down by Toronto and then comes back and obviously develops into one of the greatest, a Hall of Fame pitcher, right? A Young Award winner, a dominant pitcher. We'll see what happens with Andrew Painter. I think they're taking the right approach. Number one, he had to go down. the cardinal sin of starting pitching is not giving your team a chance to win. When you leave the game, and in the case of the number 4, the number 5 starter, we're looking for 5, maybe 6 innings. When you come out of that game, does the team have a chance to win? And the last 4 or 5 starts with Painter, the answer was no. So you couldn't keep putting him out on the major league field. It just wasn't fair for the current Phillies. And it isn't, realistic for a team that is in contention for a playoff spot or has, lofty postseason goals to go basically out there every 5th day and have, to use the Doc Rivers word, a scheduled loss. So obviously they set him down. And obviously another good thing I think they're doing is they're going to take some time down there, right? They're going to give him some time. They're going to work on his delivery. Mike, I don't know anything about pitching. All I know is I couldn't hit it, to borrow a phrase from Don Mattingly, who could hit pitching. So I've got to believe that the problem is mechanical. This is a guy who's young. He's still throwing the ball 96, 97, 98 miles an hour. They talk about him falling off to the first base side and not extending towards home plate. So maybe they can fix his delivery down there. But I think they're going to take their time, right? Let's not make it a rush job. He's going to go down there. He's going to throw a couple of side sessions. Maybe it'll be, 10 days before he gets in a game. And then I think he's not going to throw 5 scoreless innings or 5 one-run innings in AAA and be right back here. I think they're going to give him a few starts down there to kind of build his confidence up before bringing him back. So I think you'll see him back here in, maybe August, mid-August. But I think they're going to take some time. And I think that's the right way to go because this kid is still only 23, 24 years old. He's got a lifetime ahead of him. And you want to make sure, you kind of get him through this period. And if you can't get him through the period, well, through his issues, then you got bigger problems. So take your time and get him right. I think that's good for him, his long-term health, and the ball club's long-term health as well.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. We have a poll question up. I want to see what you think. At Mike Gill Show, you can vote. Will Andrew Painter pitch again for the Phillies this season, or will he stay in the minors for the rest of the year? Where are you?
I think he'll be back. Like I said, I think he'll be back, the middle of August sometime. They're going to need a starting pitcher. I mean, they don't really have a lot of great options for that 5th spot. I know Bryce Wilson came up through 2 shutout innings last night. Had struggled at AAA at the start, but then it was on a 13-inning or something scoreless streak before he came up. Alan Rangel is another guy, another option down there. Don Mattingly said yesterday he's not a fan of bullpen games. He thinks it taxes too much on the bullpen, doing that every 5th day. So they're going to need a 5th starter. I still think Painter is a good option, but you got to go down there. Don't rush him. Give him some time, and make sure you don't overreact and say, okay, well, he struck out 7 guys in AAA. Let's rush him back up here. Take your time and make sure he's in a better place. Fix him mechanically, and I think still a long way to go in this season. I would expect him to come back. If things go well in AAA around the middle of August and make maybe 5 or 6 more starts in the regular season, and maybe that can give him some momentum going into next season and the rest of his career.
Mike, 75 games in, we're still far away from the trade deadline. Is the vibe? Do you get the vibe that a shakeup is coming?
Well, I think they're gonna. I think they've been aggressive, and Dombrowski has been aggressive at the trade deadline. The last couple of deadlines, they've acquired guys at the deadline. Some have worked, some have not. So yeah, I do think this is a team that is going to make some moves. One thing, I definitely think that they need a bat in here. You kind of look at their bench now, Mike. Their bench is just not a lot of pop on that bench, basically. You look at last night, you got the 2 catchers on the bench, Stubbs and Marchand. I know everybody likes Garrett Stubbs. I know they kind of tell us that he's a versatile player. He can play left field. He can play the infield. He can catch down 8 runs. He can come out. He can take off the catcher's equipment. He can run out to the mound and pitch. But, I just think another guy on that bench and another bat. And I think, and this is a team, let's face it, for this core of this group, And no one really knows what's going to happen next season, although I do believe there will be baseball next season. Now, will it start on, the traditional opening day? Will we have all 162 games? I think that's up for discussion. But, this feels like this is kind of a last ride for this group, this core of guys. And you want to do everything you can to sort of give this group a chance. So I do think they'll make, a couple of moves before the deadline. Because, Mike, you look around the league, all right, the Braves have a lot of injuries. All of a sudden, the Phillies are 7 games back. They win last night. They're 6 games back. The Cubs have kind of dropped off. The Padres are a mess. So, early in the season, we kind of looked at it as if the Phillies were kind of overmatched a little bit in the National League. Now I kind of look at the National League and say, hey, the Phillies aren't the Dodgers. And, they may not be the Brewers and the Braves, Phillies, who knows what happens there. But I think you can definitely say the Phillies are one of the top teams in the National League. And, yeah, I think they're going to bring in some guys to try to make a run this year.
Yesterday we were talking about the fact that you've got Dombrowski. I don't know. Is he at the end of the road here? And it's an interesting spot for him. Kevin Cooney was opining like, hey, he's an older guy. He might be out the door here. Does he go for broke? How much that plays in here? Does he look at Preston Mattingly and say, hey, man, I'm not going to leave the cupboard bare for you. I can't do that. Like, how much does Dombrowski's spot in where he is in his career play a factor here?
Yeah, I don't know if it plays a factor really that much at all. I think what is the overriding factor there is, John Middleton wants to win. I don't think there's any question about that. And so I think anybody who's working for John Middleton at this point is going to do everything they can to kind of put this team in position to win. And I can make the opposite argument. Dombrowski's in a situation where he's already a Hall of Fame executive. I don't think there's any debate about that. But if he were to somehow, get the Phillies to a world championship, boy, then I think he goes down as, one of the top executives in baseball history. So you got to think of what another championship would do for him. Here's a guy who's competitive. And I do agree, he's coming to the end of his career, and you see some signs in the Phillies that they're kind of, setting up the next generation of leadership with Preston Mattingly, being the GM and Sam Fuld becoming the president on the business side. So you can see the sort of outline of a leadership transition happening. But look, Dave Dombrowski is about winning, and he's going to do everything he can to try to get this team to the World Series. You might not agree with every move he makes, and you might be able to criticize some of his moves, and those moves may or may not work. But believe me, Dave Dombrowski wants to win, and John Middleton, they want to win. They're not in here to just play out the string and see what happens.
All right, Mike McGarry for the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. Phillies and Mets this weekend, and they'll finish up their series on Saturday and Sunday. No baseball tonight for the Phils. What's an odd situation. But with the World Cup in Philly, they have another night like that coming up against Kansas City, where I think Kansas City is hosting the World Cup, so the Phillies won't have a Friday game. But Mets are 13 out of the East right now, and in the wild card, the Mets are 5 out. So do you see a Mets charge coming at any point here, Mike?
Well, they have played better the last couple of weeks, right? They certainly haven't, kind of after their rough start, which was about the same rough start as the Phillies had. The Phillies obviously have put it together and played well under Mattingly. You're hard to believe that I believe their loss last night was the first time they lost back-to-back games under Mattingly, so they played well. The Mets have played a little better here. They might make a run at the wild card. We'll see what happens when Francisco Lindor comes back. But I mentioned to somebody last night, Mike, I'm not quite sure what the Mets want to do. Do they want to be a power team like the Los Angeles Dodgers and sign free agents and go out and get players and contend every year? Or do they want to be the Tampa Bay Rays and try to do it analytically and build young players and stuff like that? It seems like they're caught in the middle there, and therefore they're not doing either well. They're not doing as well as the Tampa Bay Rays, and they're not doing as well as the Los Angeles Dodgers. They kind of remind me of the Boston Red Sox are kind of going through the same things, like big market teams that hired guys that are famed for analytics, like David Stern, the Mets GM, was in Milwaukee, and they're kind of caught in the middle there, and they can't decide what they're going to be. And because they're caught in the middle, they're not doing well at all. So I don't know if the Mets, they've played better lately. Bichette didn't get a hit last night, but he was hitting well the last 2 weeks. We'll see what happens for them, but I don't have a lot of confidence right now in the Mets. Basically, I just don't see the pitching that enables them to go on a sustained streak. The Phillies have that pitching in the big three, so they're going to avoid losing streaks and they're going to win some games. The Mets just don't have the pitching to match what the Phillies have done. So don't have a lot of faith in my New York Mets the rest of this season.
All right. How about your New York Knicks? Where does that rank on the pantheon of sports accomplishments for you, Mike? You're a little older than me.
Yeah, I mean, you try to think of championships that you've kind of experienced in my lifetime of teams that I have watched and rooted for. And it's basically, the '86 Mets, and then some Giants teams, and then this Knicks team, right? So it's very, I don't want to get involved in recency bias and stuff like that, but I'd have to say, because it was the 3 years, because of how they did it, because of that Game 4, because of the personalities involved, this is, and maybe because I am older, and I kind of realize that this doesn't happen all the time, right? And I don't want to get maudlin on a Friday afternoon in the summer, but you start to think, how many more of these am I going to see or be around for if the last one happened 53 years ago, right? I try to live healthy, but I'm not that healthy, right? So, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And Mike, I don't know if you saw it, I wrote the story, my must-win column this week about Jalen Brunson and his kind of connection to the area, the home in Margate, working out the local gyms in Holy Spirit in Atlantic City. And I've heard from just a couple, 5 or 6 people that have kind of sent me emails or texts saying, hey, I was at Holy Spirit one day and I was dropping my daughter off for soccer practice, and I went inside to just, use the bathroom or something, and I peeked my head in the gym, and there was Jalen Brunson working out in the gym. And I just sat, watched from the corner for about 15 minutes, and it was really amazing and great to see. So I think the personalities involved, the way they did it, yeah, it's definitely up there. Like I said, I'm sad it's over. I'm sad there's not a Knick game on tonight for us all to watch, basically.
Yeah, I know 53 years. I know the Sixers now on 43, and it could be 10 more before they even get into that conversation. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, pressofac.com. There we go. Phils and Mets tomorrow night. Thank you, Mike.
All right, Mike, have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Thanks for everything.
He'll be back on Monday right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up, a Mike and Bob Phillies Chat coming up at 3 o'clock. All right, coming up, a Mike and Bob Phillies baseball chat in the 3 o'clock hour. Stick around for that. Or Unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Hey, I want to tell you about our friends over at Key Acura of Atlantic City. Rocco's making a really easy deal for you. Walk in right now through June 30th. He'll take care of your first lease payment on a 2026 Integra or a 2026 MDX. On that Integra, up to $450. On that MDX, up to $1,000. You walk in, he'll pay the first month on that vehicle. Get to Key Acura on Tilton Road in EHC or visit KeyAcuraofAtlanticCity.com. Key Acura, the small but friendly dealer. See dealer for details. Coming up, Bob Wankel's here from the Fighting Words podcast. We're going to go through it all. 75 games in. Who are the Philadelphia Phillies? We'll answer all the questions coming up next. All right, 3 o'clock, grabbing a Friday show for you. No Phils tonight. Got the soccer game kicking off right now. That's why the Phils are not playing tonight. There is soccer in Philadelphia. Not USA soccer, but they are playing tonight against Australia. Brazil is in Philadelphia. Phil, 75 games in. Who are this Philadelphia Phillies bunch? It's a Mike and Bob Friday baseball chat. 75 games into Phillies baseball. The same questions for the last 5 years, but do we have any more answers? Have they cleared up? Bob Wankel from the Fighting Words podcast is here. And, we've been asking a lot of these questions over these Mike and Bob Friday baseball chats. But, as you get more information, sometimes things change. That's the weird part about this. We have more and more information, and it doesn't seem that much is changing here. They still need the same things, Bob. But 75 games in, this would be the first question I have for you. Does it feel like a team that is ready to finally do the big thing?
You know the answer to that. You know the answer to that. You know that it doesn't feel that way at all. This is a team that I think will make the playoffs. I think that this is a team that, should they find themselves in the postseason, can find some lightning in a bottle and lean on their experience and their starters at the top of the rotation and be a tough out for an opponent. I wouldn't want to play the Phillies, but in terms of finding the consistency needed to navigate a wild card round and a division series and a league championship and a World Series and do the whole thing that we're desperate for them to do, it doesn't feel like they're this team, at least not right now.
So at what point does John Middleton realize that and say, hey, I'm telling you, you can't – after August 30th, Dave, don't bring me this crew back. I don't care what it looks like, just not this crew. Does that happen?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the ownership level, I think it gets a little bit complicated just because of what is looming for the sport in general come this winter. And for that reason, I don't expect a seismic shift around the trade deadline and teams adding tons of salary or, taking on veteran contracts that are multiple years. I think that you want to try to keep as much flexibility as possible. You don't know if this sport is going to enter a salary cap period, what the road to a salary cap would look like. There's just so much uncertainty beyond this year that I do think it clouds how the trade deadline plays out this season. Now, that being said, look, the Phillies, they have an opportunity, and that's sort of what's annoying about what has happened this past week. The Braves finally start to falter a little bit. They've lost 4 out of 5 games. They see Mizorowski and the Brewers tonight. They're a big underdog. Like, the Phillies are 7 games out right now. If they handle business, even last night, they're 6 games out, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, it's the middle of June. They still have their eyes on the division here.
Yeah.
And they let one go last night that further accentuates their problems. Can't hit very, very average left-handed pitching. They need help in the bullpen from the left side, and they need starting pitching help. That's a lot of needs to have 5-6 weeks away from the trade deadline, Mike.
Yeah, so you brought up an interesting point. Okay, I said that at the beginning of the show too, left-handed pitcher. I know everybody is a big Marsh fan. He's having a great year. But when you're hitting Brandon Marsh in the middle of your lineup against a lefty, what is the ceiling of your team? Like, realistically, does anybody have the faith that Brandon Marsh is the hitter that we're seeing? Forget against righties. Maybe he is this guy against righties. But do we really think against a left-handed pitcher, he's going to be hitting in the middle of your lineup against Chris Sale, and that's going to go well for you?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're obviously a bat short, and we all know that. And against righties right now, if you slot Brandon Marsh in at 4-5, I mean, I don't feel great about him at 4, but 4-5, 5 especially, fine. But against a left-handed starting pitcher, he's earned the right to continue to get looks and plate appearances against lefties. But I think in a championship caliber lineup, Brandon Marsh is probably hitting 7th against a left-handed pitcher. So there's probably 2 more guys that you need to plug in there as well. So to answer your question, they're thin in the middle of the order. And when you get to higher end left-handed starters in the postseason, you assume that Brandon Marsh is probably going to get exposed in the middle of the lineup.
So let's kind of go around here. 75 games in, you still got the trade deadline coming up. We know they need right-handed bat. They need a guy that can get on base in the worst way. Obviously, first base. Dave Dombrowski did say they're not really even thinking about moving Harper to the outfield, so it seems that thing is out. You go to second base. Will Bryson Stott be playing second base for the Phillies after the trade deadline?
I think it's more likely than not. I mean, Bryson Stott has one more year of team control beyond this season, and I just don't know what the market is for him. And we can talk about how thin the Phillies minor league system is, and I know that some are a little bit more bullish on it than others, and that's all fine and well, but I don't think that anybody would look at this objectively and say it's a top 15 minor league system. That doesn't mean that they don't have interesting players that could help get a deal done to fill some of their needs here in the short term. But is it possible that a team that's looking for a little bit more of a win-now type player has a surplus of something that the Phillies could use and they target Bryson Stott? I mean, like, it's not insane to think that, but it feels unlikely that Bryson Stott would be moved. And what's been interesting now over the last 6-7 weeks is that Alec Bohm has hit enough that are you going to be able to go out on the market and find a bat that really is an upgrade over what Alec Bohm has given you for nearly 2 months now? And I don't know. I don't know that there's that big of an upgrade where you'd be willing to part with prospects to take on whoever that player may be. So, you know what's interesting, though? You said Dave yesterday comes out and talks about Bryce Harper, and we think he's doing a fine job at first base. Well, the numbers don't really bear that out. You know, in terms of fielding run value, baseball savant, StatCast metrics, he's the least valuable defensive first baseman in baseball this season. He's been bad over there. And for a while, I would say that the analytics didn't necessarily match up with the eye test. You know, he's done an okay job, but he's often way out of position. And he just has not been particularly good at first base. And I don't know why, unless he behind the scenes has said, I'm not going back out there. I don't know why the Phillies would not at least entertain the idea of a short-term situation where they bring in a bat to play first base and bump Bryce Harper out into the outfield, which, by the way, they have a massive need. You know, so I don't understand their aversion to that.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know, because you look at this team, Stott's a very good second baseman. Turner, brutal at shortstop, though. I mean, what does this Turner thing materialize over the next couple of weeks and months here? His offense has been horrific. Now he's hurt again. I don't know how long. Defensively, he's been brutal. He's got the lowest on-base percentage on the team. What happens here? You got 7 more years of this guy, Bob.
Well, as much as patience is wearing thin, I mean, he's going to have every opportunity through the remainder of the season to continue to play shortstop and get at-bats and probably at-bats in the top of the order. And you just have to hope that the pedigree and the resume and track record come into play and he starts to figure it out. Like, yeah, we've been down this road with him before where he struggled and then kind of fixes it. But his struggles this year are nowhere near what they were in 2023. I mean, he's been far worse this season. And so it's certainly a concern, but given what the contract is, given who he is, he's going to get every at-bat that he wants this season. Like, there's no pivot off of Trey Turner this year. And if he hits 170 for the remainder of the season, then that's what it is. And as unfortunate as it is, I mean, they have no alternative. And they're not going to turn him into a part-time player this year with the rest of this contract spanning out another 7 years. I mean, they can't do it.
Can't do it. There's Bohm. We were talking about before. I keep reading all these articles about Matt Chapman. Is Matt Chapman now defensively? He is exponentially better than Bohm. I don't know where you put Bohm defensively. This year, their offensive numbers are about the same. Chapman is historically much better offensive player, power-wise, across the board than Bohm. But he does have 4 years at $100 million left on his contract, and he's already 33 years old. Is Matt Chapman worth taking a shot on with this crew?
He's a 252 hitter this season. He only has 7 home runs. OPS is 737, which in this lineup would make him look like Babe Ruth. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm not super bullish on the idea of picking up $25 million plus a year through 2030. Go back to some of that financial uncertainty around the sport looming. I I mean, if the Giants said, hey, listen, we really want to get rid of this guy and, you don't have to trade us anything, you just have to assume the salary. I mean, that's maybe a conversation, but I would not trade anything of significance for Matt Chapman right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, do I say to you, hey, Chapman's significantly better defensively than Bohm? Does that?
He's 33 years old. I mean, I just don't know how much more this team can take on. Like an aging Trey Turner and an aging Matt Chapman, whose power has seemingly been diminished this season. Is every time we talk, I always throw the disclaimer out there. I'm not an Alec Bohm guy, but to be honest with you, Alec Bohm on an expiring contract, the way that he swung the bat here in recent weeks, feels almost as palatable to me as Matt Chapman does. Certainly,
I agree. I mean,
contract.
I said earlier, look, this year they're pretty comparable offensive players. Chapman is a significant upgrade defensively. I have Bohm as a pretty average defender at this stage. I know he used to be horrendous. He's at least worked himself to average. I don't know. Where do you put Bohm defensively?
Average to a tick below. I think that he almost benefits from the fact that he was so terrible. That
you're right.
Now that he's a functional third baseman, we almost say, oh yeah, look at that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So the question would be: is his average defense and Chapman's elite level defense worth taking the shot on? And I would probably agree with you, saying not for the money and the years. I just can't.
No, and not considering the needs that they have elsewhere. I think that they're going to have to fix. And look, you get a bat anywhere you can get a bat. So if it plays at second base, then so be it. But I think that the primary objective would be to get somebody that can play outfield for you and be that offensive upgrade. Yeah. And given that they need that offensive upgrade in the outfield, given that they go ahead.
No, I was going to say, given they need the offensive upgrade, they now need a right fielder, or they can play Marsh in right field. Do they also need a center? Like, how do you make of what their defense, their outfield is right now with Hill and Rincones and essentially Edmundo Sosa's playing almost everyday outfield now?
Yeah, and that's not what you want. In fact, it's a game that they won, and it sort of was overlooked. But Jesus Luzardo's out there in the seventh inning the other night against the Marlins. He has a shutout. There was a ball that went out to right center field between Rincones and Crawford. The ball should have been caught. It had like a 200 expected batting average. It floated in the air a long time. Neither player had any read on it whatsoever, so it didn't look like a ball that was playable, and it should have been. And if you had an above-average center fielder out there, it probably would have been read and tracked down. And, maybe Jesus Luzardo threw 7 shutout innings the other night instead of giving up the 2-run homer. I think that you have to add another bat. I think that bat has to have some flexibility and allow you to I would say to some degree, hide center field and hide the deficiency that you have in right field. I mean, Hill helps. He can handle lefties a little bit. He can play multiple defensive positions. That's a more useful pickup than I think that people really understand and realize. But they really need another alternative out there. And I think it's a guy that primarily plays right.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is, I don't know about you, Bob. We just talked about Marsh. Do you also need to try to look for someone to platoon with Marsh? Or are you just saying, you know what, for this year,
no,
I'm going to let him hit lefties?
No, I mean, if you asked me this on April 15th, I would have said, of course. One of their biggest failures is that they don't have a bat to pair with Brandon Marsh. Otto Kemp failed. Reyes has failed. They've tried here to solve this internally, and they haven't done it. But Marsh has at least acquitted himself well enough where you consider there are other needs. I just think you have to do things to address those needs beyond trying to find a platoon option with Brandon Marsh. I mean, the situation in the back of this rotation now is dire. They need a veteran arm at the deadline that can come in and give them competent innings. And like Bryce Wilson's probably going to get the first crack at this. That's fine. He's on a little bit of a heater right now, but hasn't been very good this season. I just imagine that in another 5 or 6 weeks, you're going to have to go out and get a veteran arm to put at the back of this rotation. Because look, Andrew Painter, I'm not willing to write him off. I'm not willing to say he's a bust. It's never going to work out. But I don't think that you right now in this moment can bank on an Andrew Painter return with confidence to competently fill the back end of this rotation as you're trying to make a playoff run. I just don't think that that's a good bet in this moment for this season.
By the way, our poll question at Mike Gill Show, will Andrew Painter pitch for the Phillies again this season, or will he stay in the minors? 60% says he'll be back. 40% say he'll stay in the minors. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know, and I'm a Painter guy. I like Painter. I'm not sure that he's got this is a turnaround thing in a couple of weeks. I think what he's got going on is much more deeper than a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's two different ways to look at it. You have a 23-year-old kid who throws 97 miles an hour, and the tools are still there. He'll often talk this week. Basically said that there were some mechanical things that were glaring that impacted his command. I think we all see, though, the fastball opponents are hitting 404 against his fastball this season, slugging over 600 against it. It's been one of the worst pitches in the sport. And I think it goes a little bit deeper than a simple mechanical fix. I think that they have to try to figure out a way to get a little bit more run late with his fastball. I don't know that that's something that you figure out in 14 days. If he's back, I don't think you would see it until late July at the absolute earliest. I think your poll question is great, and I think that the split 60-40 kind of is right on. I mean, I would say if I had to guess that you'll see him again, but is he coming up and making impact starts for the Phillies this season? I don't see it. And they're not in a rush to get him back out on the mound. I mean, it's basically going to be about a 10-day layoff from the time he last pitched against the Marlins until they ramp him back up. Like, this is going to be a little bit of a tinker and rebuild. This isn't just figure it out on the fly here. This is a project now.
Yeah. They got to find something at the back end of that rotation, apparently. But that's another thing, Bob. They entered this season, the whole Painter thing, they handed him this job. They brought nobody in. They really had nothing to go to. They still have nothing to go to. So now you got to throw that on the list of things that you got to try to add at the deadline. Now, I don't think they ever entered this season thinking, man, we need a bullpen guy or two now. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Look, I mean, I think you can criticize the Phillies a little bit for the lack of rotational depth. They kicked the tires on certain guys. Things didn't materialize. They probably felt like the upside of Painter with Taijuan Walker, who they owed all the money to in that final year of the deal, and who had pitched okay in 2025. Like, I think that they felt like that those two supplied enough depth for them going in that they didn't need to go out and get a 7th, 8th, 9th option if it wasn't really a guy that they felt good about. It hasn't worked out for them. But, I mean, the idea of Painter, Walker, teams probably went into this season in a worse spot than that, and it just hasn't worked out. Now, as far as the bullpen goes, my take here is pretty simple. They have a decent bullpen. They have guys that I think have talent that haven't pitched all that well. We'll see what happens with Keller. He's been underwhelming. Kerkering has been pretty good. Alvarado in close spots has been okay this season. He's really struggled more with games that are, that they either lead by 3 or 4 plus, or they're down 2, 3, 4 runs. That's where Alvarado, the bulk of his bad numbers stem from. But last night after the game, he another 31 pitch inning, and he was a disaster last night. He lit that game on fire for the Phillies, and he basically says, well, people around the sport are seeing more velocity, and, people aren't really scared to hit off of me at this point. And, that feels true. But, let me give you this. This is a good one here. Pitches at 98-plus miles per hour from Jose Alvarado this season. Opponents hitting 366 with a 409 on-base percentage and a 415 slug. I mean, they're right on him. And you go, okay, well, velocity's up around the sport. Players are getting more comfortable with it. Not really. League-wide, this season, against any pitch, 98-plus miles per hour, hitters 212 with a 292 on-base percentage and a 231 slug. They're hitting Alvarado's velocity. They're not necessarily hitting big velocity. Jose Alvarado should be embarrassed by his performance this season. He let the team down last year. They gave him $9 million to come back here and redeem himself, and he hasn't done it so far through 2.5 months. I'd like to think that there's a little bit more in his game and that he'll figure it out, and he better, because he's been a massive letdown for this team.
I agree with that comment because when you put this team together with Keller and Alvarado coming back and then Duran, you felt you were exponentially better in that back end of the bullpen. Now it might be a weakness of this team moving forward that you have to address at the deadline.
It very well may be. And look, Matt Strahm wasn't the answer either. They got him out of here, and Boland's actually shown some promise. Strahm's pitching to a ERA over 5.7 right now, so it's not like, oh, he messed it up there. But look, you thought, hey, we got this surplus of left-handed arms. I mean, Tanner Banks, guess what? 91 in the middle of the zone isn't playing this year. And, whatever pixie dust he had working for him a year ago, it's run out. And so he earned his demotion. And we'll see if you'll probably see him back up here again at some point, I'm guessing. But you don't feel great about him right now. Obviously, we just had the conversation about Alvarado. Tim Mays is probably your most reliable left-handed option. Kyle Backus, who started up here at the beginning of the season, got hurt. He's working his way back, probably eligible to return sometime next week if they want to bring him back up, and they might want to. He was figuring it out a little bit before he got hurt, and they're hurting themselves right now from the left side of the bullpen.
Yeah, they're really, this is something I think they thought was going to be a big strength for them. And then the Keller thing, he's hurt. It appears that that's going to be something. And he's almost like Trey Turner. It feels like they're just going to keep running him back out there because they paid him to be there.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's in terms of his velocity, his stuff, like it grades out the same, but he's just not commanding it with any consistency. And we'll see, maybe he was pitching hurt, maybe this was something that had been bothering him and he was trying to gut it out, and he goes on the IL here and comes back and hits the ground running. I mean, they're going to have to hope so with Keller.
Yep. All right. So the last thing I guess you kind of look at is, they need that right-handed bat we've been kind of clamoring for years. Does this system have the deal in it to make that deal?
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends who it is. I think so. I mean, ultimately, there's enough there where the problem is you're trading so much of what you do have. But, I mean, I think that there are players that are going to, like, if you want to go out and get a Taylor Ward, do the Phillies have enough to get Taylor Ward done? Like, I think so. If Byron Buxton finally relents on the no trade clause with the Twins, and I know that he had comments before their game last night basically saying, like, I'm a Twin, and until someone tells me that they don't want me here, like, then there's not even really a reason to talk about this. We'll see. We'll see if he backs off of that. I mean, he would be a dream for this team. I believe I just saw that Mike Trout's hurt again. Like, I think we can all table that one for now. But I think between, the Escobars and the Norries, like, I think that there's guys that aren't having great seasons for them that are still going to be intriguing to other teams. Maybe guys that aren't major league ready, but guys down there single A, double A that have a little bit of value.
Yeah, the Trout thing is, him getting hurt. Now he's on the injured list. So, and then Buxton, it sounds like he's not willing to waive his no trade clause. Tyler Ward on base 400. It's like, would you do an overpay for a Tyler Ward?
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that has traditionally had some pop, and it has evaporated this year, but he draws a ton of walks, and he's an on-base machine. And the Phillies, I mean, all you have to do is look at the run batted in numbers from Harper and Schwarber this year. They don't drive anybody in because nobody's ever on base. Like, it's obviously a massive problem for them. Their team on base percentage, I believe, last I looked earlier this week was bottom 5 in MLB. So, I mean, he would be a guy that certainly would help them. He doesn't blow you away. He's not an all-star. He's not, a total game changer, but he would give this lineup a big lift at his current level of production.
All right, a lot there. 75 games in. Phils, by the way, after that horrible start, they've got themselves back into at least make it a meaningful summer. As you mentioned, they kind of got themselves back into the East race. They're 7 games back there, so that's not insurmountable. And the Braves do have a lot of pitching problems right now. And when you look at the wild card, 75 games in, the Phillies are a wild card team. So it should be a meaningful summer, which we didn't know that was going to be the case about 30 games into the season.
Absolutely.
Bob Wankel, everybody. Well, I know it's happy hour for you. Happy hour Friday. Go enjoy yourself, man.
Yeah, I'm going to crack one open as soon as we exit out of this right here.
Can we hear the can? Can we get the crack? Take care, man.
All right, man. See you.
Bob Wankel, everybody. Mike Bob Friday Baseball Chat. There you go. A lot on the table there. You guys can react to 609-403-0973. 609-403-0973. It's the Sports Bash Live Happy Hour Friday. I got the picks for you. What are you having on this Happy Hour Friday? Let us know. Here's RV Text Board 609-403-0973. This hour brought to you by Broadlee's Plumbing, Heating, Air Conditioning. Your trusted source for heating, plumbing, service, and installation. 609-390-3907. Online, broadlees.net. No Phillies today. So there's no lineup tonight. But we will pick a winner because the Phillies did not score 13 runs this week. We will pick a winner for the Chachi's 13th floor gift certificate at Rafici's. A $25 gift card. We'll announce the winner coming up in just a bit here on the show. If you entered all week long, you are in the running for that $25 gift card. So hold on for that. We'll have that for you this hour on the show. No Phils tonight. Feels a little weird not having the Phillies tonight. It's a Friday night, no Phils. Come on. But there is soccer. World Cup 2026. Soccer Fest is coming to Camden Waterfront June 25th through the 27th, noon to 10. 3 days, huge outdoor screens. Shop local, made in Camden Village. Check out international food markets, award-winning breweries and wineries and live music and more. Take the Paco to City Hall Station or take the New Jersey Transit River Line. Register for free tickets in advance at soccerfest26.com. More Bash on the way. All right, 333 Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN, the 97. And you can watch the show on the 97.3 ESPN YouTube channel. We've got Friday 5 coming up tonight. I always enjoy doing the Friday 5. Can kind of get you into like good football mode. You can start breaking down some games and getting ready for the football season, which will be here before we all know it. Yes, indeed. Got the NFL draft coming up. NBA draft Tuesday and Wednesday. And we'll be having a lot of stuff leading. By the way, the NHL draft is next Friday too, right? The Flyers. What do you know what happened with that whole Toronto situation with the draft pick?
With the draft pick?
Yeah, the trade and the draft pick and all that thing they were kind of going back and forth on.
I thought they settled on a third-round pick.
Oh, I thought they changed. I thought they made.
I mean, if they changed, I didn't see.
There was
that
this whole
news.
trade that happened with the Lawton trade.
Oh, you're going back to the Lawton trade?
Yeah, there was a first-round pick, but there was like some semantics on when they got it and what needed to happen.
Yeah, there's a stipulation about where it landed. You know, it's similar to how the NBA does. If it falls in this range, it gets deferred to this year or next year. I did not actually see what they decided on that.
I thought they made a decision. Then I could have sworn I saw something different about the decision. I don't know if it's for this season, or what the actual part of the trade was that had to do with the thing. When that trade, when that draft pick is coming into fruition for the Flyers, when they made that trade, there was something wonky about the whole situation that I don't quite remember.
Yeah, so it's a conditional pick. Kind of similar what the NBA does, but it's one of those situations where so the Boston Bruins also made a trade with Toronto. Okay, so I pulled up in front of me here. This is from Hockey News. So Philadelphia currently owns Toronto's first-round draft pick in 2027.
2027, next year's draft. Okay,
right. Boston is getting Toronto's 2026 pick because there was a top 5 protection involved. Because the Leafs ended up with the first overall pick this year, they retain it. So now Boston gets the 2028 first round pick. Boston was mad that they're not getting in 2027 because the Flyers are now owed that pick. This is from Hockey News.
So Boston thought what?
So the pick. So when Boston made a trade with Toronto, they were getting a first-round pick from Toronto. But Toronto put a stipulation that it's top 5 protected. Well, Toronto got to keep their pick for this year.
Okay.
So then Boston, under the impression, we'll just get next year's pick. And Toronto's like, yeah, no, we already gave it to the Flyers.
What? So the Flyers are getting next year's first-round pick from Toronto.
Yes. And Boston's mad because they are
So now they almost have to wait now till 2028.
Boston's wait till 2028, right.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, Boston is not happy about this.
Gotcha. So the Flyers draft, the Sixers draft Tuesday and Wednesday. The Flyers is on Friday, correct? Next week.
So the NHL is Friday, Saturday.
Saturday. Sixers, NBA, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right. So really quick, to finish it off. So the NHL ruled that if the pick that Toronto gave the Flyers was in the top 10, Toronto had the option to transfer it to Boston if they wanted to, which then resulted in Toronto giving the Flyers the 2028 pick.
Right. So they get to pick who they want to give it to.
Toronto
I knew it
gets
had
the
some
pick.
wonky stuff attached.
Toronto gets to decide who they want to give the top 10 pick to.
For 2027.
Right.
Was there a situation where the Flyers thought they were getting the pick this year?
No.
Okay. So they were always arguing that they thought they deserved it for next year, and Boston was mad because they thought they deserved it.
Right. So the for those who don't know, the Flyers Lawton trade happened before the aforementioned Boston trade. So the Flyers' whole contention is, well, we made the trade first. And Boston's like, well, we're losing out on a pick in 2026 because of this protection. And Toronto's like, we don't really care what you guys like. We get the first round. We get the number 1 pick this year. Woohoo us. And the NHL is like, can we get some finality in the situation? Because you can't leave people hanging.
So the Flyers have what this year?
The Flyers have their own pick this year.
What is it?
I think it's 21st overall. Let me pull that up.
So I'm looking here. All right. So it says this one is one of the most bizarre contractually tangled draft pick scenarios the NHL has ever seen. Because of how the protection clauses overlapped and the draft lottery win, the league recently had an official ruling on who gets what. So here's how it went down.
By the way, Flyers do have 21 this year.
Okay. So on deadline day in March of 2025, Toronto traded away its first round pick in 2 back-to-back deals. The Flyers deal, Toronto got Scott Lawton from the Flyers in exchange for a 2027 first-round pick, top 10 protected.
Right.
The Bruins and Toronto made a trade in exchange for a 2026 first-round pick, which was top 5 protected.
Right. And
that's this year.
Right. And the Boston deal was after the Flyers deal happened.
The critical detail here is that Boston agreed to a conditional clause. If Toronto's 2026 pick deferred due to protection, Boston would get whichever future first-round pick the Flyers did not receive. Everything, though, unraveled in May, according to the Hockey News, when the Maple Leafs beat the odds and won the number 1 overall pick.
Right.
Because the pick fell in the top 5, Toronto got to keep the selection. That officially triggered the backup conditions for the Boston trade, forcing Toronto to defer its debt to the Bruins into 2027 or 2028. Now, both Philadelphia and Boston had overlapping claims to the pick.
Correct.
So, with both the Flyers and the Bruins arguing who should get the higher priority, the NHL stepped in. According to league insiders, the official layout is like this. As it stands, the Flyers own Toronto's 2027 first-round pick, and the Bruins will get the 2028 first-round pick. But because the Flyers originally agreed to top 10 protection on that 2027 pick, the loophole opens if Toronto is not a good team.
Again, next year.
And if Toronto's 2027 pick lands in the top 10, they retain the option to keep it. However, because they owe a pick to Boston, keeping it means they must immediately transfer the top 10 pick to the Bruins.
Which means the Flyers would be stuck with 2028 in that scenario.
Correct. I knew there was something wonky going on with that pick. I just did not follow it like hardcore.
It feels very like Sam Hinkie going wrong.
Well, they made 2 trades, and it essentially was, they made so many variables on picks here. The one thing on it's weird, like the NFL doesn't do, you never hear about doing any protected picks.
You're not allowed to in the NFL.
Yeah. But in the NBA, it's almost like now every trade has
something,
has some sort of protection attached to it. You done any NBA draft stuff yet?
Not really.
Really? Oh, this is a great draft.
I know it's a great draft, and I mean, I keep seeing people talking about it, and I've seen the mock drafts, a couple of them, but I
am highly into this draft.
I know you are. You love the NBA draft.
Not only do I love the NBA draft, just this class is really, really good.
I know.
Like the top
I hear that,
5.
but
normally it's like the top guy, the top 2, maybe a third guy comes into play. I think there's maybe 15 guys in this draft that are really good. Maybe even more.
But see, history tells us that a lot of those guys don't work out the way you think they are.
But I mean, it certainly is adding to the intrigue of how many serviceable players are here that you're like, this is definitely going to be an interesting night.
See, my intrigue is not about the draft class. It's about what's happening on 1 and 2. This whole fiasco with Peterson and DeBansa.
I wouldn't even say it's 1 and 2. I would say it's 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4. Because you can certainly say now.
You must not know what story I'm talking about.
What's that?
the situation going on with DeBanza and Peterson. Peterson wouldn't work out except for one team.
Yeah,
and,
Peterson would only work out he wouldn't work out for Utah.
Right. And apparently DeBanza, like, people want him to go to Utah, but the Wizards really want DeBanza. So it's like turning into this weird, like there's a rumor out there that the Jazz and Wizards could swap picks just to be like,
because DeBanza played at BYU.
Right.
Yeah. Now he's minus 475 to be the number 1 overall pick.
Right. And the idea is that, if he's supposed to be number 1 overall pick, but he really wants to go to Utah and Peterson really wants to go to Washington, that they might kind of like do like a wink, wink.
Well,
deal.
I think if DeBanza goes 1, this is where I think if DeBanza goes 1 to Washington, Boozer's going to go 2 to Utah. I don't think Danny Ainge is going to take Peterson. Like, it's one of those things. I was listening to a podcast. It was Bill Simmons with Doc Rivers.
Okay.
And Doc Rivers was saying when he was the Boston coach and Ainge was running the team that even he didn't know who Ainge was going to take in the Fultz draft.
Yeah.
He said he keeps it so close to the vest that he didn't even let, like, Doc know who he was actually taking. And Simmons opines that he would not take Peterson because of all the off-the-court stuff and how crazy it's been, and that Boozer would be the guy that he would take there, which then would put Peterson.
Well, Boozer's the more stable
spot.
prospect of the two, for sure.
Well, Peterson came in as the number 1 overall prospect and the number 1 overall pick, and then everybody was going to say he's the guy. But then he kind of had a weird existence at Kansas. He was taking himself out of games.
Yeah, the whole situation where, like, the NIL was threatening to take their money away from him because of when he was versus wasn't playing. Easy for me to say.
Then you have Caleb Williams, who's probably the 4th guy in
Not
this
the
draft.
NFL Caleb Williams.
Nope. And then you have the 4th guy there. And then after that, you've got a bunch of guys that are all kind of like very intriguing. I mean, you can pick anywhere from those are the 4, and then
I like the kid from Tennessee, Kennett.
Who?
The guy from Tennessee.
Kennett.
I thought that was his name. Am I saying his name wrong?
Didn't he get drafted like 2 years ago by the Lakers?
That's Kennett.
Oh, that's who I thought you were talking about.
No. There's a guy from Tennessee.
I would say
he's the one that Rick Barnes compared to Kevin Durant.
I would say Akoff is next from Arkansas. Peterson.
Nate Ahmet.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say I don't know what connect. I was thinking of the guy that got drafted 2 years ago.
Yeah, Ahmet.
Yeah. Caleb Wilson would be 4. Akoff from Arkansas. Brown from Louisville. Man, I'm like
Akoff's going to be a stud.
Know a lot of people like him. Kingston Flemings is the Houston, man. I'm sorry, I'm not in like college basketball form, but I just started kind of doing the draft stuff. Like I was listening to Bill Simmons' podcasts the other day, and they were talking like he's been really talking about the top like 3 and 4 spots in this draft. I've been kind of looking past those because I definitely, I like DeBanza.
I like the bands too. I just enjoy the drama at the top. That's the kind of where my focus is because I can't wait to see. Like, remember last year the whole drama about Ace Bailey and
the Sixers picking in the top last year really helped. Made you get involved in it. Now but that was part of probably the fact that they're at 22. And we were talking with Adam Aronson yesterday, and he talked about how there's probably about 15 guys. Nate Ahmet, by the way, is the Tennessee player. I would say he's probably a top 10 pick. The last guy is Mara from Michigan, who's 7'3", and I think it's interesting because you've got Wemby now, so everybody's going to be saying we got to find a guy that can be the guy that defends Wemby. So I think he's going to probably get taken higher than good. Here on the show. Sports Mass Live 97.3 ESPN. Poll question, unsportsmanlike moment of the day. Football at 4, Nuggets, Fastball, Friday 5. Happy Hour Friday. What are you having on this Happy Hour Friday? Let us know on the White Horse RV text board. Where are you at? Where are you having it? Give me a good selection for this weekend. 609-403-0973.
Detroit, Philadelphia. A couple of years ago, Carson Wentz entrenched as the quarterback of the Eagles. Second round, Jalen Hurts. How'd that turn out? Super Bowl winning quarterback. If you're the Eagles and you know you're going to be a good team, or the Lions, and you're drafting towards the bottom of the second round, and you draft Brandon Sorsby and say, hey, look, Brandon, here's the deal. You're coming in on a one-day contract. And if you go to counseling and you go to meetings and you're a great teammate, you're going to come back tomorrow. And we're going to stack one good day on top of the next. And next August, if he has an unbelievable preseason, you know what you'd be able to trade him for? Or maybe you're sitting there with your franchise quarterback. And then when you look at the Packers, right? They had Favre, they drafted Rodgers. They had Rodgers, they drafted Jordan Love. Any of those organizations, someone's going to look at this as an unexpected opportunity.
Mike Tannenbaum, that's our Unsportsmanlike moment of the day here on the Sports Pass Live, 97.3 ESPN. He basically is suggesting that a team like the Eagles, some good teams that have a quarterback already, take a chance on Brandon Sorsby. I understand it makes sense, but I think the whole NFL almost needs collusion here and say, nobody take this kid. It's not going to happen. So if it's not going to happen, should the Eagles be the team that says, look, we don't need this guy. If he suspends him for the whole year, take a shot on him.
This is a horrible take by Tannenbaum. Comparing getting Sorsby and saying, oh, if it works not great, to drafting Jalen Hurts is like apples and celery. Like, it's absolutely insane. Sorsby literally is in a situation because he has an issue. Now, whether you want to say it's an addiction issue or whatever, there's a legitimate character issue here with this guy. That is a huge red flag. Comparing him to Jalen Hurts with what the Eagles did with him is absolutely horrible job by Tannenbaum.
Well, I think he's just saying here is, listen, you had a quarterback and you drafted another quarterback just in case because you liked them. Should you pass on this guy or say, you know what? We don't have a need there, but for a 5th or 6th round pick, take a shot.
I feel like any NFL team that takes this guy is really
well. That
playing
part
with
of it
fire.
I don't like. The part of it I don't like is that this kid gambled on his own team over 40 times, and basically his college came to terms with, we need to let you go, man. This is not looking good for us. And now he's going to go into the NFL. Is he worth a 5th, 6th, 7th round shot? We'll see if the Eagles or somebody else takes a bite when the supplemental draft comes around in a couple of months. Football at 4 powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, which you can get on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, it is brought to you by the Fanatics Sportsbook at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Adam Caplan's here on a Friday edition of Football at 4. We'll take a look at some of the things the Eagles need to do. Yesterday, we had a mailbag edition for Andrew DeCecco, and one of the questions was, is there a legitimate challenger in the NFC East for the Philadelphia Eagles? Is it Dallas? Is it Washington? Is it the Giants? And are the Eagles a playoff team? I mean, first off, to get to the playoffs, winning your division is one way to get there. So what will it take for the Eagles to not only make the playoffs, but make a deep playoff run? We talked about on Monday's show some of the actual teams right now ahead of Philadelphia. Who are ahead of the Birds, and what will it take for the Eagles to make a deep playoff run? Let's bring in Adam Caplan for today's Football at 4 on a Friday. What's up, Adam?
Michael Gale, good to be back with you on Football at 4. So we've got done OTAs, and the Eagles are done their offseason. They were one of the first teams done with their offseason. That's kind of what it's like every year. Some teams are actually going to work next week, Mike. It's kind of funny how the Eagles are done their offseason almost 2 weeks before some teams. So we'll see what happens, Mike, as they head into training camp, whether they make any more roster moves. They made some small moves lately. But when we put together a list, it's not a top 10. It's just that what we look at is the top things that have to happen. Everybody could have their own list or put them in order. But we're going to get started, Mike, with what I believe is the number one issue. It's not Jalen Hurts, as much as people want to say that. Certainly in our top 5, that's obvious. But, Mike, their run game must dominate. And it's got to start with the offensive line. Like we've said on Inside the Birds for months, nobody saw this coming, that they had maybe the most dominant offensive line in NFL history from a run game standpoint 2 years ago. Well, they had a major drop-off. They were mostly awful. Again, who could have seen that coming? Well, they broke down physically. Cam Jurgens talked about, Mike, as you know, recently how better he's feeling, how much the therapy that he got overseas did for him. Hopefully Landon Dickerson's feeling the same way after his therapy. So they've got to come out and dominate. This is not going to be a high-volume passing offense no matter what. They don't want to do that. They got to help Saquon Barkley out. The thing is, they were really good in pass protection. That was not a problem. It's just run game. They were terrible. It's because physically they couldn't block. They just couldn't do it. Jurgens could barely bend down, as Greg Cosell told us from his tape study. So hopefully they will dominate. That's my number one reason, Mike, to be honest with you.
So the offensive line dominates the run game. I agree with you. I think they got to get back to that offensive line. I mean, that offensive line was a major problem, and that would add the layer that they didn't have last year running the football. But what about Hurts's role in this offense this season?
So when they drop back, look, he's not going to have A.J. Brown. He's going to have had Devontae Smith, who's still terrific. He'll be their number one pass target, as we talked about. He's still going to have Dallas Goedert. It's a big deal. Goddard still played very well last season, but they got to use Goddard more, not just use him in the red zone. They got to, where he was great. They got to use him outside the 20s more. And he'll have an opportunity there because A.J. Brown will not be dominating pass targets anymore because he's not there. He's been traded as we expected all offseason. So that's been done. But Hurts, they're running a true West Coast offense. This is an offense, Mike, as I told you in February, is all about timing and rhythm. Hurts has not played in timing offense here. The offense that we reported at the time that Nick Sirianni came in with wasn't a West Coast offense, but it was more timing-based. They had to scale things back a little bit because Hurts was not throwing the ball in time. Still has problems with it, but as we've also isolated, watched last season, there were some timing throws which were fantastic. Now he's got to do it, Mike, on a full-time basis. That's my number 2 reason, or my number 2 thing here for them to make a deep playoff run. Hurts must consistently deliver the ball on time.
This is an interesting one. You got a new offensive coordinator here, and I would imagine that, you can't fire the offensive coordinator again, can you? Right? I mean, you almost have to have buy-in here.
2 out of the last 3 years, the OC was fired. I mean, Brian Johnson didn't work out. He got caught between Sirianni and Hurts in 23. Kellen Moore got covered up because the running game was the best in NFL history. Okay, the passing game wasn't very good. Saved 3 or 4 games. So to me, it's not just Hurts buying in. It's the entire offense. I've talked to some agents who had players in offense. There was not a great buy-in from Kevin Patullo, unfortunately, overall. There's got to be a buy-in with a first-time play caller and Sean Mannion. That's we'll see. A lot of veterans here on this offense here. We'll see the structure, the scheme, and the game plan, Mike. From week to week, they've got to buy in the game plan, and that's got to happen.
Well, isn't that like crazy to think though? Like, what if the offense doesn't go well? I mean, do you legitimately say this guy could be a one and done? Like, let's just like the offense look like it did last year. You know, let's just go down that road and say,
well, Mike.
I mean,
they're not running next scheme. See that you brought this up to me. I remember this. You and I talked about this. What will they do if it doesn't work? Well, Sean Mannion only knows the scheme. He doesn't know Sirianni's offense. That's a completely different scheme. It wouldn't work. There's really no turning back. Look, the only thing you can do. Let's say if Hurts is the issue, like you have to identify. Well, what's the problem? If Hurts is not throwing on time, you're gonna try to hide him. You're gonna run. You're gonna basically not let him drop back more than 20 times a game. You're just gonna not let him throw enough. If he's the problem, if he's fine, but they can't run the football, and they're pass protecting well. We this part we've not talked about before. As you mentioned this, now you're making me think about it. They don't want to be a passing team, but let's say, by the way, let's say that Saquon Barkley, the regression last season wasn't just it was his numbers drop off had to happen anyway because no one's going to duplicate that. But it was everything we were told and we saw was because of the offensive line. Well, let's say at 29 years old, which he turned in February, that he drops off. He doesn't look like the same player. They have to throw the ball more. Well, that's not like that. Now it becomes, do they have a good enough pass target group? Which, Mike, I believe, I'll still say this. With Smith, with Mekhi Lemon, with Dontavian Wicks, Hollywood Brown, Goddard, and Eli Stowers, he's going to play, they're fine. They don't have A.J. Brown. Mm-hmm. They don't have that physical presence, but they're going to be fine. It's, can they scheme well enough? Can they get buy-in, Mike? And can the quarterback play on time? If they do, this offense is going to be way better than people think.
Well, and the one thing that you're liking so far, Jalen Hurts saying, hey, he likes the fact of the whys. I'm getting answers for the whys. It seems like he would ask questions last year, Adam, and just not really like the answers he was getting.
Mike, when he throws on time, I'll continue to point out that Charger game. I know he had 4 turnovers, 2 in 1 play, and an NFL record. But if you isolate throws, particularly the one was he just threw like a madman I think it was to the right slot to Devontae Smith. We were like, how the hell did he do that? Like, that's the Hurts you need. Just be decisive. He can make just about every throw. That's not the problem. Just be decisive.
Adam Caplan, Football at 4 here on a Friday. Last year, game 1, you had a problem at corner. Now, I don't know if it was as bad the whole season, but are they better consistently there?
Well, look, Adoree Jackson did a yeoman's job. To this day, we would do the Inside the Tape show with Jeff and I and Greg Cosell. We're like, why aren't teams throwing at Adoree Jackson more? I don't understand it. We just didn't understand why that didn't happen more. He probably would have done way worse, but they didn't target him as much as we thought. But look, Tariq Woolen's way more talented. He's way younger. He's more explosive, more athletic, taller, obviously. Tallest corner in the National Football League at 6'4", 1/10 of an inch, I believe. This is combine height, not in front of me, but if I recall correctly, some years ago, that's what it was. So now he's got to play consistently well, Mike. You just can't have listen, folks, we know where the ball's going to go. It's not going to go at Quinion. It's going to go at Tariq Woolen. Tariq Woolen is on a 1-year deal, a proven deal, a rich $12 million deal, but a 1-year deal. He needs to play consistently well because you don't want to have to bench him to go to Jonathan Jones, who turns 33 this fall, who could play nickel or corner. He's near the end. He could be fine as a third corner. You don't want him playing, Mike, a lot. And Tariq Woolen, look, he's kind of one of the keys to this defense. Let's be honest about it.
Oh, yeah. I think people are excited to see what he brings to the table.
Yep.
Based on what you had, last year. And of course, you had Darius Slay the year before, and you end up winning a Super Bowl when you had 2 great corners over there.
What a trade that was. You have to get him from Detroit. Yep.
Absolutely. We did a mailbag question. This was one of the questions. It was, who's the second option behind Smith? Is that to be determined?
It's a great question. My money's going to be Mekhi Lemon. I know he missed over 2 weeks of practice due to the hamstring problem. He'll be fine by training camp.
Hate that. I hate that.
I know it's not good. I mean, it's from a mental look. He took mental reps, but he's got to learn 2 positions: the slot position, the move position, which is the Z. He'll play mostly inside, but he'll play some movement. He's a rookie. You need all those reps. You need to be on the field. I still believe it's going to be Lemon. Third passing option probably will be Goddard. A little bit of Wicks. A little bit of Hollywood Brown. I'm really interested to see because Mike Hurts loves the deep ball. For whatever reason, Hollywood Brown did not connect well, other than he was hurt, with Patrick Mahomes. I don't quite understand that. I know he's had a number of injuries, Hollywood Brown, in his career. It's not like he's 35 years old. He could still run. I'm very interested to see because he's making $5 million. They guaranteed all of the $5 million. They clearly think his tape show that he could still play at a high level. It's going to be to finish this off, Mike. It's going to be a receiver, a pass target by committee after Devontae Smith. Like some weeks, Wicks could have a great game. Another game, it could be Goddard. You know that, and we still think Makai. At least I do. I don't know what Jeff thinks. I think Makai Lemon will be the number 2 pass target. Somewhere around 60, somewhere around 3.5, 4 catches a game. I think that's realistic because look, Mike, they haven't had a slot receiver in years, but the West Coast offense always has a slot. Now San Francisco doesn't play a lot of 11 personnel, but they have a slot receiver. But a lot of West Coast offenses use a slot, and I like Makai Lemon.
All right, let's go to the other side of the ball there, and you got Grenard. You think he's going to be probably your guy. You got Jalen Carter. You know, you got some push up the middle, but do they have a second quality pass rusher?
Yeah, Jalen Son has been my guy, number 58, when Trent calls old number. He's been my guy since they drafted him in 24. We got on him about a month for the draft. We knew who he wasn't because he was the Senior Bowl, but we started to get intel that he was going to go in the 3rd round, and that's where he went. We didn't know the Eagles were going to draft him, to be honest. We didn't know that they were really on him. But he's a guy we love for the draft. We got Greg Cosell on him. Greg and I actually not watched tape of him until like a week and a half before the draft because Greg usually doesn't do guys who, unless you're told, you think, oh, that a very, very small school, a former safety. I went to a very small school, Houston Christian. He transferred from Cordell, and then he became an edge rusher at Houston Christian. He's Mike. He's a year ahead of schedule. I believe he's going to beat out Nolan Smith for that edge rusher position opposite Grenard, Mike. And I am super high on Jalen Son. He'll be their number 2 pass rusher. He needs to be. And the good thing is they've got really good depth at edge.
Yeah, I like Jalen Hunt. We'll see when he ends up. Remember, I was thinking about this when we were talking about wide receivers and defensive ends, but more receivers. It was like they can't be good until their 3rd year. Remember that? It was like now it's the 3rd year wide receiver. Now that's all changed.
Well, that's fantasy, that was by the way, that was a complete fallacy. Like it's yes, years 2 from 3 for any NFL player is big, but one more thing I do want to add before we get out of here. We need to learn. We didn't mention Chris Cooper, the offensive line coach. The only thing that Jeff Stoutland did not do well enough in recent years, because he was elite. There was a Hall of Fame for offensive line coaches in general. That he'd be in it. Certainly will be in the Eagles Hall of Fame someday. But they need to do a better job of developing their interior and their offensive line, Mike. Think about it. Brett Toth was kind of like a shocker. Like that one great game against the Giants he started. He was phenomenal. Who knew? Well, they don't have Brett Toth anymore. He's with the Niners. Now, I know that we've talked about for a couple of months. They love Drew Kendall. He's put on massive bulk on his frame, which kind of surprised. He looked much bigger physically. Almost like his dad, Pete, if you follow the NFL, former Jet and Seahawk. But he's their top interior lineman. But again, he needs to prove himself. They still need to develop these young linemen, Mike, and that's what Chris Cooper, a former NFL offensive lineman's got to do. For many things he's got to do. That's one of them. Develop these young offensive linemen.
Well, we know you mentioned it last week. You put it on the radar about 5 weeks away from training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles. And every Friday when we have Adam on, we are getting closer. We are getting closer.
You love that. You love that, Mike.
Training camp. All right, man. Have a good weekend.
All right, man. You too.
Football 4, everybody. We're talking football every day at 4 o'clock right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. It's one of the joys that we get every day at 4 o'clock. You get football here on the show. It's brought to you by the Fanatic Sportsbook Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. By the way, Team USA is up 2-0 on Australia in the 49th minute. So 2-0 USA in the World Cup. So for many people who had anticipated that USA would beat Australia or definitively should beat Australia. You're getting that right now.
Well, there was a couple of things coming into this game. So Christian Pulisic, for those who don't know, he was ruled out an hour before the game. So whatever the calf, they've been very vague about this specifics of the calf injury, but basically he got kicked in the back of the calf. He's had numerous leg injuries over the years. So they're basically better be safe than sorry. The issue with Australia wasn't that the USA couldn't beat them. The issue was that Australia is a very physical and, they kind of muck it up. They bring it.
Well, I don't know that we're at the point. Maybe we're getting there where you can beat anybody.
We're getting there
just by walking onto the field.
Oh, we're getting there.
Okay.
I mean, it's soccer.
But that's
right
been
now,
part of the problem is you've gone out there and lost to
teams you should beat.
Correct.
And so one of the issues in the world today, and I don't want to get too crazy on the soccer rabbit hole over here, but all of the best players in the world are aging out. Your Messis, your Ronaldos, some of the best players in the world they're old now.
Yeah.
So there's not
although Messi had 3 goals the other night.
Yeah, 3 goals. My point is that the idea of you have one megastar and your team is going to be great, it's dying. These teams are way deeper than they used to be in terms of athletes. And so the reason why a team like Australia is dangerous is because you basically got to play keep away from them, because if you let them too much time to assert themselves, they'll basically just blitz your goaltender. Right now, what the USA is doing is saying, we're going to take Australia's style of play and we're going to apply it to them. The USA has basically been blitzing the Australian goaltender in the offensive side of the field. So that's why without Pulisic, they're still able to be effective, because the Team USA is basically like, hey, Australia, we are going to do to you what you to do to other teams.
So today it's football at 4.
Yeah, football.
2-0 USA, 52nd minute. Do you know who scored?
I had to look it up. I saw the goals.
Yeah, I missed both goals.
I didn't see the exact guy who did it. It's more
okay. So we were having this discussion.
Yes.
I'm obviously not a big soccer guy. I'm not like anti-soccer. I just never really got into it.
I'm fringe because I just like watching sporting events.
But I don't mind watching a big event. This is a big event. My question would be, it seems okay. They win the game on Friday night last week. Now, if you win this game, does that add or grow based on the 2 wins? Because now you're going to get a bunch of casual people that want to get on board and just don't really understand or don't know. I'm wondering how each win kind of what it does for them.
I think it grows, because I look at the World Cup similar to, not the same as, but similar to what you saw from Team USA in hockey, where it's like there's a lot of people who might not really care that much, but then when Team USA keeps winning, you're bringing more and more people to the party. You're bringing more and more eyeballs to the television.
Yeah, but I remember, man, I can't remember what World Cup this was. We did a show down in Wildwood during the game. It was a day game, like a 3:00 in the afternoon game. We should have gone someplace today to watch the game. That was a bad job. But we went somewhere to watch the game. It had to be, it was a day game. I think they had advanced to.
Well, the last World Cup was 2022.
Yeah. But I think it might have been the one before that. What would that have been? 20?
I think that would have been 2018.
2018, I want to say it was. I want to say it was 2018. And did they advance to the final 16 or something? They played Germany. I feel like they played Germany or something. And the takeaway that I had at the end of that was, okay, they played Germany. They made it to X amount of how far they got. And I don't know that that's going to grow anything or change anything. And while I certainly know there are more soccer players and fans and people who like the sport than there was probably in 2018, I still don't know what that means here in the United States. Because the MLS will never be anything bigger than what it is.
Correct.
And that is the challenge that I have seeing that sport grow here in this country. But are there so many younger fans that are just waiting their turn that the television networks, and I don't know, the whole television network thing is also a thing because TV is not what it used to be.
Right. There's a lot of people who they don't watch sports.
There's a lot of people who opine that the fact that the MLS went to Apple TV, that hurt them.
It did.
It did. But my point would be if you took, so I guess what I'm saying is like, at what point, like right now, turn on the TV, baseball's on every night. Basketball's on every night. Even hockey's still on every single night. You could turn on the television and find a game. Now, they all are on streaming services as well, but there's still a large presence on television. They're still in the lexicon every single day. When does that happen to where you don't have to go to a specialty station or spot and hockey, soccer is in that mix? And I don't know that I'll ever see that.
I don't think it'll be anytime soon. By the way, the USA did not make it into the round of the big round in.
So is it 2014 maybe?
So in 2022 they were in the round of 16.
Okay, maybe it was 2022 then. Who did they play?
They played. I think it was Netherlands. I literally just scrolled past it. Give me a sec. I wish there was an easier way to do this. Like I wish, like it's not like I can go to Baseball Reference and like just be like, hey, what happened to the 2015?
Well, Germany
Phillies?
won in 2014.
Here's the bracket. Yeah, so the U.S. lost to Netherlands in the round of 16. So they got almost to the quarterfinals.
And that was in 2022?
2022.
Okay. We did a live show on location somewhere in Wildwood. I can't even remember where we were. I mean, it feels like it was longer than 2022, but I could be wrong about that.
Well, 2022, when you really, it does feel like it was a long time ago, though.
Well, you know what? It couldn't have been 2022 because that was after COVID.
I mean, I can go back to 2014 if you give me a minute.
I want to say it had to be 2014 then. United States, I think they played, I want to say they played Germany. I could be wrong, but I could have sworn they played Germany, got beat, and then I always was kind of like, okay, now what? And now what from 2014 to now? That's 12 years ago. Now, I certainly understand there's a bigger fan base. I just don't know what that means. Like, that's the thing I've been saying. I don't know what it means.
The United States lost to Belgium. You were close. So they lost to Belgium 2-1 in 2014, the round of 16.
Round of 16. And
so 2014.
Okay.
So it was 2-1 game, close game.
So outside, like, okay, so my question has always kind of been the MLS is the MLS. It's never going to be bigger than the Premier League or anything.
No, European soccer is the apex.
So if that's the case, I just don't know what that means for that sport in this country.
It's not good news for this country because
now, what if they won the World Cup? What would that do? I don't know if that's even a fair question to ask. Are they anywhere close to that point right now?
Well, I don't think anybody thought Team USA was going to win the hockey gold medal. So why not ask the question?
Yeah, I mean, they've been close. They haven't been. I mean, let's be honest. USA Soccer has been at the bottom of the barrel.
True, but Team USA went from 1980 to this year between winning gold medals. So,
yeah, but they've been in the mix.
They've been in the mix. True, I'll give you that. Okay, so
they're still one of the when you're talking about the 5 best teams in the world. USA hockey is generally there. They might not be Canada the best, but they have a professional league based in the States here, and therefore you're not shocked that USA won a gold. You would be shocked if USA Soccer won this tournament, would you not be?
I would be bona fide shocked, yes. And not just because it's Team USA. I think be competitive because I think that the overall pool is diluted. But a Team USA one that would be massive for popularity of soccer in the United States. I don't know if that would mean more people would be watching MLS on Apple TV Plus, but I think that you might see an influx of people who are interested in seeing where these guys play in the Premier League or the Champions League or La Liga. Maybe that would help their television rating. All that stuff is streaming now. So, maybe it's something where you see more people care about college and high school soccer.
All right. We'll get into the Nuggets on the other side. Fastball tonight, NFL Friday 5, happy hour Friday. What are you drinking on this Friday for us? Give us a good suggestion for this weekend. It's supposed to be a nice weekend. Tomorrow, good day. 609-403-0973. Let us know what you're having, where you're getting it this weekend. Let's go. Happy hour Friday here on the Sports Bash. All right, 434 on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. It's time for the Friday Nuggets. A little burnt today. No Phils tonight. Got to be down in the dumps. We do have soccer going on. 2-0 USA in the 67th minute. Good discussion beforehand. 609-403-0973. I wonder what the Nugs thinks about it. You're a young guy too, Nugs, but would you classify yourself as like a soccer guy or not?
No, I wouldn't classify myself as a soccer guy. I will enjoy the World Cup. Like I enjoy watching it. Like I will watch the USA. It's very big in the streaming world. Like if you're a streamer, a lot of younger kids love like the Ronaldo stuff, and the streamers are all into the soccer. I never got into it. Now it's funny. It was the first sport I ever covered. Women's soccer was the first sport I ever covered in my career. So I do have a soft spot for soccer. It's just not my favorite. Like I'd probably put it 5 on the list, or 6, 7 maybe. It doesn't matter. I'd probably put golf ahead of soccer, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I'm not anti-soccer. I'm just not into it. Maybe because I'm a little older or whatever. It wasn't something I did play. By the way, I played soccer for a year. Yeah, for 1 year.
I did not play soccer at all as a kid. It's funny. Yeah, it was not my sport. It just wasn't my sport. Baseball was my top sport. Played a little basketball, ran the track. So I enjoy like as a fan, it's a great sport that I could just sit back and watch and just enjoy.
So the question that we asked before you came on for the Nuggets was like, if the USA won the World Cup, like what would that mean? What would it do? I'm not sure the answer.
I think I might have one for you. It could be right, could be wrong. I think it would elevate a little bit, but I kind of liken it a little bit to the Olympics. I feel like it would have an Olympic effect, like the basketball team winning the gold medal, or it's great, it's awesome, it's cool. It was a cool thing that happened, but I don't know how much it would elevate the game in this country. It's just not. Soccer is the biggest sport in the world. It's just not here.
This ties to the where we are in a society with like television.
Yeah.
Because TV is not the same as it used to be. Oh. But sports on TV are still pretty big.
Yeah.
Football is on regular television. Baseball is on regular television. Basketball is still on regular television. Hockey is still on regular television. Soccer is essentially on only the MLS, I should say, is on a streaming service only. Yeah. Now, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Apple did not make you pay for the MLS this year. I think it was included with your package.
Yeah, I don't think
they realized that people were not watching them. But my point on this is, like, if the U.S. won the World Cup, I don't even know that we could quantify its popularity by saying, hey, ESPN decided to put the MLS and buy that package and put it on, because television's not the same as it used to be.
No, television is not the same. I think if the U.S. won the World Cup, it'd be a great thing. I think people would get excited about it. I'm sure there would be a parade with the players. However, I don't think it would have that effect where you're seeing the big companies go buy the MLS for the TV rights, etc. Because I don't think it translates. The big leagues are the European leagues. I think Josh said that earlier before I came on. Yeah. It's the European leagues that people want to pay attention to. That's why it was such a big deal that Messi came over here to Inter Miami, because that guy is a global superstar and was very, very like this is going to elevate the MLS. Did it really? I don't know how much it really did.
Going to say, what kind of impact did the Messi move have? Now, we're not in that soccer lexicon, so maybe we're not fully aware of what kind of impact it had. But obviously, it didn't have enough impact for Apple to charge people for the product.
Yeah, I know. It's a big sport globally. Here, it just is not the same. We will like our other football. All right, you talk about football at 4. You do a double duty with Caplan, and then talk about soccer. It's just, it doesn't catch the same vibe to people as the NFL does, as baseball does. It just doesn't. For some reason, even if the U.S. won the World Cup, will it help enhance soccer here? Yes. How much of an impact will it have? That's the question. I don't know if it would have this great impact across the country. I just don't know.
I'm interested to see what happens. Like if they won the first game, that got people. Now, if they win this game, they're up 2-0, so they should hold on here and win. Will that add another layer of value, or you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, each win will start to build and build, but I don't know what the apex is.
I think it's going to be a long time.
And I'm not saying it in a negative way. I'm saying if you're listening out there and you're a soccer fan, like if they won 2 games in a row here, does that put it on another? I really just don't have the answer because I'm not engrossed in that world.
Yeah, it's an interesting world. And listen, you could call us 2 jamokes and want to text in, like say, this is what would happen and what would it do if the U.S. did win the World Cup. Like because it's just not my realm. It's just not my realm.
I'm not being the guy that's just screaming at people saying it's never, never, never. I'm just saying when, because I don't know the answer to it. I don't know the answer to what is the next step for United States soccer, like generally is thought to be an afterthought. And if they won the World Cup, it would be almost shocking.
Yep.
When do we get past that?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that question. I think time. I think time and stringing together those World Cup wins, getting a popular player. You bring the Messi over to Inter Miami, helps it a little bit. But that's not enough. That's not enough to get everybody on board and like locked in on a Sunday like you do for football.
It's hard because you know what? The next World Cup's not for 4 more years. So it's 4 years. And then if you lose and go out like in normal fashion, it almost becomes like, hey, was that a fluke? You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I pay attention to the World Cup every 4 years. Every 4 years. I'm like, all right, I'm going to watch the U.S. every single time. I enjoy watching the U.S. play. And then after that, I'm like, all right, I'm back to my core
one of the
four
problems
and
because
golf.
The guys in the U.S., like you could probably you couldn't say where any of those guys actually play. Like, where do they play?
Yeah, I know. Like and I think that's part of the issue across the board in the United States. It's just not that sport in this country. It just isn't. It hasn't been for a while.
Though, I know, like a buddy of mine, he's a season ticket holder for the Union, and if I give you a player on the U.S. team, he probably knows what club he plays for.
Yeah, it's it's more niche in this country. It just is. It's more niche here than it is globally. Globally, it is the sport. It's the sport. I don't know if it's because it's not ours. We didn't come up with it. We came up with football. We came up with basketball, baseball, the whole 9. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. They're up 2-0 in the 75th minute.
Yep. All right. I got a little baseball nuggets for you. All right. 2 guys. All right. Nugget number 1 are pretty much off your list at the trade deadline. 2 names that always come up with the Philadelphia Phillies. Every single trade deadline, these names come up. And I'll start with the first one. Mike Trout. He will not be a Philly this year. I can guarantee you that. You know why? He's heading back to the injured list. He hurt his hamstring. He is heading to the IL, and he's had a pretty good year up until this point. He was probably going to be an all-star this season. It was like he was back. He was coming back, being old Mike Trout, 34 years of age, has 17 home runs and 866 OPS. He was much better than he had been. He is now heading to the IL with a hamstring injury. So he is off the board for Dave Dombrowski. Number 2, Byron.
Is he off the board, or do you assume that you can maybe now get him for a discount?
No, you're not getting him.
It's like when you walk into the store and you get the jersey of the player who's no longer on the team.
What are you doing? Yeah,
you put he's gone. Put a little tape on the back of that name and put the new name on there.
No, he's done. It's over. All right. Any pipe dream that people had before, it was probably highly unlikely because of the contract situation anyway. And does he really want to leave the Angels? He likes being with the Angels. It's a Dame Lillard effect, right? Dame never really wanted to leave, gets moved, and then goes back. He went back to Portland. So I don't think Mike Trout's leaving the Angels, the contract, and now he's hurt again. Why would you want him if he's hurt? I love Mike Trout. He's the best player of my generation. I have his jersey. I bought that when I was younger. I got the jersey of Mike Trout growing up. Like, he was that guy. He's from the area. Like, But it's just, he's 34, the contract's too much, and does he even want to leave the Angels? That's, and now he's gotten hurt again, and it's just such a shame because he is such an iconic figure for this generation of baseball.
Yeah, listen, I think it's a shame that the injury again has come at this time, but I never saw that trade happening. I don't think, that it was going to happen. So I don't know that this changes anything there.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen either, but I mean, him getting hurt, heading to the IL, I mean, it's like, all right, it's really not going to happen. I'm sorry to the Texans out there who've asked for Mike Trout, etc., but it is what it is. Now I have another name. Byron Buxton, a name I wish he would waive the no trade clause. He has one with the Minnesota Twins. He comes up every year. And Dan Hayes in The Athletic put out an article regarding Byron Buxton and got a quote from him. Said, quote, "I don't give a bleep. End of the day, nobody's in my shoes. Nobody can say anything about what I'm going to do. I ain't said nothing about leaving, nor will I. I'm a Twin." End quote.
I take that with a grain of salt. I think he's just saying the right things. I think he's saying that now, and I don't think he wants to be traded. I think he says, bring the thing to me and let me decide. That's why you have a no trade clause. I don't want to go to Baltimore. I don't want to go to Kansas City. I don't want to go to Cleveland. But I might be interested in going to a team that can win a World Series. So I think he's saying the right things. I was listening to a podcast. Bill Simmons had Doc Rivers on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how the whole Giannis thing, like how that was being handled and like how that played a factor. And he said, Giannis never came out and said, I want to be traded. Get me out of here. Like he never was a bad like juju about it. Like he just did his business. Would he be traded? Sure. I think he would have been traded, but he said he didn't come to practice like, get me out of here. He wasn't like James Harden or Ben Simmons. So I think Buxton's just saying, I'm never asked to be traded. Don't look at me like I'm the guy who wants to go. But if you present me with something that makes sense, I might be open-minded to it.
However, he is kind of getting out in front of it, saying, don't even call. Like, essentially, I could also look at it and say, he's getting out in front of it. Don't even call the Twins. I don't want to be moved. I'm a Twin. I'm not leaving. You could also look at it that way. I'm not leaving the Minnesota Twins. I'm staying here. I don't want to leave. And I really haven't said anything as to ever I want to leave. They just bring my name up in trade discussions every single year, and I'm still a Twin, and I still want to be a Twin. That's essentially how I kind of took it.
Well, again, I think he's just making it known. I'm not the one asking to be moved. My name keeps coming up, but it's not coming up from me. So I don't think he wants the fans to say, if you don't want to be in Minnesota, then get him out of here. He's saying, no. That's not what I'm saying. But if you present me with the right deal, I'll consider it.
And you also have to remember, because there's a third wild card, the Twins are only a game and a half out of that wild card spot. They're right there. So they don't have to move them anyway.
The third wild card makes trading much more difficult. Right now, the worst team, the Angels, are 7.5 out of the wild card. So you're not like out of it, but you'd have to get on a really good run. In the National League, the worst team is Colorado. They're 11 out. I'd say, they're done. San Francisco's 7.5 back in the wild card. So do they think they're out of it? One good week, they could be back in it. So I don't know that there's any team that you could pick up the phone right now and call, and they would say, yeah, we're definitively out of this thing. Now, they might have a different mentality if you are the Royals 6.5, Detroit 6.5, Boston 6.5. But Detroit's been pretty good the last couple of years. Kansas City's been a playoff team. Detroit's been a playoff team. Boston's been a playoff team. Are they ready to throw in the towel already? I don't know.
Yep. Well, I think those two you can take off the board. I don't think they're going to happen. I think with those comments, the injured list, no Trout, no Buxton, swing and a miss. No Dombrowski for those guys.
I don't see either one of those guys getting moved either.
Nope. All right. Before I get out of here, I had one nugget I wanted to get into. We'll dive deeper into that discussion next week. That's a longer nugget. We talked a little soccer today. So I'm going to just put this one out there. All right. This is according to Major League Baseball per ESPN. The MLB has announced a new home run derby format for 2026. Again,
I
8
saw this
participants.
morning. The funny part is I don't even know what the old one was because I don't watch it.
Well, they get rid of the clock. That's the big one. No clock. You're not timed anymore, so you're not like out of breath by the time you're done swinging. 8 participants. Top 4 advance to round 2. 20 swings in round 1. 15 swings in the final 2 rounds. A player who homers on his last swing in any round continues until he makes an out or wins the round.
Sounds better. I mean, the clock thing, you're right. The one thing would be they were just up against the clock. Guys are trying to call timeouts in the middle of the thing. Hey, I got a timeout. You know, do you get a challenge? You get a timeout. Do you win your challenge? I mean, just throw pitches, swing the bat, count how many home runs you end up hitting. This isn't hard.
Yeah, I think this is better than it was. I'm glad they got rid of the clock, and it's going to be in Philly. So this is why it's a big deal because this is what we're going to
on
see.
Netflix.
Yes, it's going to be on Netflix. I got to try and get there. The prices are outrageous. I mean, they're just insane.
What's the cost for the Derby Monday night?
I think it depends where you sit. I think outfield's like $1,000. It's got to be like $1,000 for the outfield. It's around there. If you want to catch a home run, I mean, that's the whole point, right?
Well, I'm just saying, what about a nosebleed?
I think it's probably a couple $100, $400, $500 for a nosebleed. It's expensive. I checked like a couple weeks ago because I was like debating it, and then my car broke. So yeah, that might be out the window.
Damn. All right. Well, I don't know. I was thinking about like, hey, checking out the All-Star game this year, possibly going up there, but we'll see. We're gonna be at Uri's that day.
Yeah, prices are a little crazy.
I can't even imagine, to be honest with you. After seeing what they were for the Knicks series, I don't think they're going to be $10,000, but
no.
Yeah.
But they're a lot. And if you want to catch a home run, you're going to have to open up the checkbook there, a credit card. It's going to be a lot. All right, there you go. 2-pack and a little soccer. How about that?
There you go. All right. Nuggets is on the Locker Room tomorrow. You can check him out from 10 to noon right here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Nug, see you, man.
Later.
All right, there you go. There's your Nuggets for a Friday edition. Coming up, Phillies Fastball. Jeff Kerr lists 4 things in order of need for the Phillies. That's coming up next. Plus, we'll ask if the guys think we'll see Andrew Painter back in Philadelphia this year. That's our poll question today at Mike Gill Show. Do you think Andrew Painter will pitch for the Phillies again this year, or will he stay in the minors? We'll update that on the other side, plus my NFL Friday 5. That's all still to come on a Friday edition of the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN. All right, 5 o'clock, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. No Phils tonight. A little odd, which gives us plenty of room to roam for the Phillies fastball. Jeff Kerr, Oscar Budajin. Jeff had a very interesting tweet we talked about in the first hour. He ranked his 4 biggest needs for this team right now. We debated that, whether he was right on that. We got some trade names I want to throw at the guys as well. All that and more. We got so much. 75 games into the season now. We got 75 games to kind of look at. Let's bring in the guys right now for today's Phillies fastball on a Friday here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Boys, welcome back. It's good to see you on this Friday. Weird to not have Phillies baseball on a Friday night, but here we are. What's going on?
Well, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, no, I'm going to let you go.
No, I mean, it's Friday night. I mean, the U.S. is playing. They're beating Australia. I mean, in soccer, so it's a good day. When the U.S. wins in soccer, it's a good day. Trust me, to the football world.
Well, let's look back to the game on Thursday night real quick. I want to get both your guys' take on Aaron Nola last night. Not a bad Nola game. It was a Nola game that I guess you'll take at this point. Is that where we are?
I think it was a historic game. I mean, he's 300 start as a Philly. There are only 3 other Phillies other than him that have gotten to that number. Steve Carlton, 499 games. Robin Roberts, 472. And Chris Short, 301. He's pitched 12 years for this team. He's been a great Philly for a long time. Unfortunately, the last 2 years have not been ideal. He's a 5 ERA pitcher, 5+ ERA pitcher, and that's who he is today. And he is probably more of a 5th starter than a 4th starter now in baseball.
Yeah, you know what? I thought Ricky Metallico said something interesting on Post Game Live last night. Look, this is who he is now, right? You know, this is what you got to expect out of him. And, you know, if he gives up 2 home runs to Juan Soto, the second one, he admitted that he didn't even think Juan Soto thought it was going out. But look, he's going to give up a lot of home runs if you can get 5 innings out of him. And look, it took him 95 pitches into the 5th, and that's not good either. But this is kind of who he is right now, like Oscar said, number 4, number 5 starter. I didn't think he pitched bad last night. Really, that wasn't the big topic. He pitched good, but do we expect him to pitch good anymore?
No, if you get a game like that from him the rest of the season, you kind of feel like, all right. I mean, you gave us a chance. Seth Johnson, I thought, pitched pretty well last night, but then Oscar Jose Alvarado, where are we there? I mean, we're talking about Painter sending him down. They sent
he's still looking.
They sent Tanner Banks down. They got a problem with the left-handed spot in the bullpen, did they not?
He was not. I mean, let's be very clear. I mean, Simeon looked like he was struck out. I mean, that he struck out, and then the guy gets a triple. I mean, he would have left the inning with 1 run, and probably could have had the opportunity to win the game based on what happened afterwards. But, I mean, unfortunately, baseball is like that. I mean, he apparently touched the ball. I mean, Mattingly said it afterwards. And
no, that was the right call.
Look, Alvarado is a pitcher that he throws 2 pitches, and he throws them wildly. So, and he's being wild is what makes him effective, because hitters don't know what to expect. But it's 2 pitches, and he said something very interesting yesterday. I was looking at what Tim Kelly wrote, and he said that hitters are getting accustomed to hitting 100 miles an hour. I mean, it's like, come on, dude. I mean, come on. You got to get a better line than that. Look, it is baseball. It is what it is. I love the way his pitches move. He's just wild. I mean, that's who he is as a pitcher. And I mean, you're going to get the good and the bad. He's probably not the guy you want in an 8th or a 9th inning to preserve a lead, but he's the guy that you want more on a 6 and 7 innings, because he's going to get you some outs via the strikeout. So it is. You take the good with the bad. Let's just put it away. That's who Alvarado is.
But Jeff, that's not what they had planned for him, right? They had him planned to be the 7th or 8th inning guy.
Yeah, and right. So it was him and Brad Keller. Well, Brad Keller's hurt, and Jose Alvarado's ineffective. I mean, he has a 6.75 ERA since he came back from suspension. And, you know, I'm not correlating both for that, but he definitely has not been the same pitcher since he's been back. And he's always been wild. But he's looked good at times, right? He has stretches here where he looked like he was Jose Alvarado again. And right now, he's just not that guy. And you got to rely on him. But I just don't know what you do. Like, you came into this year with 4 lefties. One's DFA'd, one's inefficient, and the other was Tim Mesa. And Tim Mesa's been good for them. Kyle Backus looks like he's coming back soon. He's got another rehab appearance, so that could be a fix. But you might need a left-handed reliever on this team, and I didn't think that was going to be the case come March 27th.
Since 2000, listen to this. Since 2021, his ERA 4.20, 3.18, 174, 4.09, 3.88. Now it's 6.58. But he's just inconsistent. I mean, you don't. That's who he is.
Yeah, he's a good pitcher. It's just this might be it for him in terms of after this season. Like, who knows if he'll be back?
Jeff, you posted at Jeff Kerr PHL. Phillies needs in order. You've got the need a number 5.
Oscar knows.
Yes, the number 5 starter. The number 3 need a left-handed reliever. The number 2 need a bat that gets on base. That's a high on base percentage guy. And the number 1 need a right-handed bat. I guess my question would be, of those 4, how realistic is it they get all 4, 2 of the 4, 3 of the 4? What do you think?
Yeah, they're not getting all 4. I think they'll go after a right-handed bat. And look, I was talking to a buddy today about this. Like, Trey Turner still needs to get going, so that could fix a lot of those issues. And Alec Bohm got going, now you got to get Trey Turner going. But who knows with Trey Turner in the sternum? He'll get an extra day. It looks like he'll be okay for tomorrow, but we'll see. I think right-hand bat's possible. I actually love Oscar's plan. I do. Like, let's go get a guy that gets on base. It's not going to cost you a lot. And if it's a Luis Ariz, so be it. I mean, the Padres are in contention, but that type of player, I think I would. Left-handed reliever shouldn't cost much. Number 5 starter,
He's with the Giants now. So he's the second baseman of the Giants. So they're out of contention.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know why I said Padres there.
He was with the Padres last year.
Yeah, that's why I'm thinking Padres, I guess. Thank you for correcting me on that, Oscar. But like number 5 starter, you can find like anywhere. Like Colby Howard could be it. There's a couple guys that could get released or could get traded. You won't have to pay much, but starting pitchers are at a premium, right? Like, do you really want to give up like one of these kids in Reading where I'm at right now for a number 5 starter? It's not going to pitch in the postseason. No, you got to hope Andrew Painter gets back, and you got to kind of hope Aaron Nola doesn't get hurt. But they do need starting pitching depth.
We asked the poll question at Mike Gill Show whether or not people think that Painter will be back this year. Do you guys think that he eventually will fix himself to get back here? Do you think that we have seen the last of Painter at the big league level?
Look, that is a very hard question to predict. I just think it's too early. I mean, it's too early to make a judgment like that. I think I would wait a couple of starts with him in AAA and see how effective he is, how he begins to control the strike zone. As I told you, to me, it's less important. To me, the most important right now is who is guiding him and how they're guiding him to become a more effective pitcher. So what happens in the off days, to me, is more important to get him prepared to what happens in the games, in my opinion. I mean, the coaching is the key right now for getting Painter right.
Yeah, and it looks like they're going to work on his slot, I guess. I guess his arm slot's one of the things, and where his body is positioned. That's going to take a little bit of time. And
to me is a long term. That's not something that takes a couple of weeks.
Think, right? Yeah. And, I think their plan is to have him back after the All-Star break. I don't know if that's realistic, though. So I think it's going to be at least 5 starts.
Of the guys they have currently, is there one option that stands out, or do you, as you mentioned, need to go trade for a number 5 starter?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not going to be Gage Wood. I talked to him this week. He's definitely on a 60-pitch limit, and he even said, I just tweeted.
Jeff, you somehow muted yourself. I don't know how you did that. He can't hear us, and he muted himself. So he's going on and on and on and talking, but we can't hear him. I don't know. He's not muted.
Me, Alan Rangel is probably the guy. Bryce Wilson did a good job yesterday. Bryce Wilson did a nice job yesterday. Let's see if he can continue to do it, and then you can make decisions between him and Seth Johnson. So,
Yeah, well, they
we
got.
cannot hear you, Jeff. We cannot hear you.
Yeah, they signed Kobe Allard as well as a guy who has some pitching experience at this level. So I don't know. We'll see. Bryce Wilson, you mentioned. Kobe Allard, they brought up. They could possibly trade for a guy, Alan Rangel. Those things. You see Jeff's list right there, Oscar. Do you agree with his list?
Look, that's a wish list. I don't disagree with what's written there. I think the bigger question is going to be, what can this team afford? And as I told you, if they go the same way they've done in the past, we're going to lose the very limited rosters, the very limited players that we have in the minors right now. So I would be hesitant to do that, to risk the future of the franchise, particularly with the window that we have. I do believe that we need to be there's a guy called Willie Castro that plays for the Colorado Rockies. He has a 357 on base percentage, 281 batting average. I mean, look, he's a name that not necessarily everybody's talking about him, but those are the type of guys that you need to go after. You need to go outside of the box to be able to get there. And that's kind of the number 2 that I think we need to get. I mean, the Luis Arraez, that's a great name, right? This guy can play first base. The guy can play second base. He's a on-base machine. He's a guy that is he's won 3 batting titles. I mean, with 3 different teams. I mean, the guy is a stud. I mean, he's a great hitter. Is more what this team needs. But the question is, can you afford it? And that's the bigger question here. What my biggest worry is not what they need. We all know what they need. The bigger question here is, can they afford it? What are they willing to give for that? Are you back?
Yeah, I find Arraez interesting. We were talking about him earlier. He obviously is playing second base. He has not been noted as a great defensive player in his past. He's been much better met by the metrics this year anyway. But he's been a top of the lineup hitter. Are you going to put this guy where you're going to? He's a left-handed bat. Is he going to hit 2?
He can hit anywhere. I mean, this guy was 3rd or 4th hitter in the Venezuelan team that beat the U.S. I mean, this guy is a leader. This guy is a winner. I like him. I mean, I like him.
I like him a lot, and he's exactly what this team lacks, a guy who just gets on base and doesn't worry about hitting for power.
You don't worry. When you look at him, don't look at him as a lefty or a righty. He can hit anyone, dude. I mean, you should see his training regimen in the winter. I mean, I was shocked. I mean, this guy trains every single day. He trains for hours and hours. I mean, he looks like Kobe Bryant. I mean, the way Kobe Bryant speaks, like waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning, starts swinging. I mean, the guy's a hitting machine. I mean, it's as simple as that. He's a hitting machine.
Yeah, he is a guy that I think would be exactly what this team lacks. My only pause, and you're right, he hits 300 against lefties. It's just whether or not you're going to hit him, I don't know, where? 2?
I mean, you can hit him 2. I mean, you can hit him. He can hit 1. He's not a great runner. He's not a great defender, and he's not a great runner. But he's a tremendous hitter that he knows how to hit. I mean, this guy. Remember Rod Carew? I mean, that's who this guy is. I mean, this guy is a hitting machine. I mean, as simple as that.
I agree. Listen, I would be not mad if they ended up saying, hey, we ended up getting this guy. The only question I would say is, where does he fit to kind of make it a good fit? You know, what does that do for Turner? What does that do for all those lefties? You would have almost 4 lefties. Because here's my next question for you guys. Once we get Jeff back today, I know Jeff's on location in Reading today, so his Wi-Fi is a little spotty. But my question would be, are you confident, Oscar? Because last night we saw Marsh 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts against Minaya, a lefty.
Yeah.
You're going to play in the playoffs against Chris Sale and some tough lefties, Kyle Harrison. Do you feel that Brandon Marsh can hit in the middle of the lineup against left-handed pitching in October?
I could see him easily as a 6-hitter. I don't necessarily against tough lefties. I see him as a top 4 or 5 in the order. I mean, ideally. I'm talking ideal world, right? If I want to win the World Series, that's where ideally. But the question is, who do you have? Who do you have right now? Brandon Marsh is the 4th best hitter against left-handed pitching this team has. I mean, with a 750 OPS. So he's the 4th best hitter against lefties.
Yeah. Well,
his OPS is better than Harper's, just to give you an idea.
Hey, listen, I'm not saying he has earned the opportunity. I'm just saying when you get to October baseball, do we believe in him as a guy who's going to hit 4th or 5th in the lineup against a lefty that you have a great shot to win? Now, if you want to say, hey, he's going to play against a lefty, you would rather have him hitting at the bottom of the order,
6th,
not
7th.
in the middle.
I mean, I would be more comfortable with that. The question is, who do you have? I mean, somebody, a dear friend of ours, Roger McNamee, that has been in Phillies Weekly many times. He suggested, hey, should we get Trey Mancini here? I don't know. I know that his story is a beautiful story. He had cancer, came back. The question is he done? That's my bigger question with a guy like Trey Mancini. Do I want to bring him here maybe a week and see if the guy can do it? Maybe potentially, but I just don't feel that he might have he's at a position where he could contribute to this team. He's an outfielder. He can play first base. He's a right-handed bat. It's on base percentage. That to me would be the key. That's my key objective. Trying to get on base at least a couple bats that can help us get on base, that can complement the hitting that we have. If they're right-handed bats, ideally.
All right, Oscar. We got Jeff on the phone. I want to bring Jeff back into the conversation. Jeff, you got me?
Yeah, I hear you, Mike.
Okay, so we were just talking about adding. We talked about Luis Arraez and whether or not you would add him another left-handed bat, regardless of the fact he just gets on base. Doesn't matter whether he hits left, right-handed. Is that something that you would be fine with saying, hey, listen, I don't care if he's another left-handed bat as long as he's a guy, get him on base. Where you hit him in the lineup doesn't matter to you. Would you be targeting a player like that?
Yeah, I think they got to look for a guy that gets on base. If we're going to be honest here, right? Like they are what, Oscar? I think Oscar would know this. 29th.
They are 29th in baseball in on-base percentage, behind the Padres. Yeah. Or ahead of the Padres.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they need someone who gets on base. They just need anybody. They need to get guys on base. If they're going to live off the long ball, which, by the way, they're not doing that great of a job at right now.
Yeah.
So what I think they need to do is just get guys on base and play for that old Charlie Manuel philosophy, or maybe we can get a 3-run home run. Or look what they did with the Mets last night. They were able to manufacture some runs. Or with the Marlins the other night, Tuesday night, they were able to manufacture some runs that way. Not everything needs to be by the long ball.
All right, let me ask both you guys. I'll start with you, Oscar, on starting to read a lot of stuff about names and teams, and everybody keeps kind of putting Matt Chapman attached to the Phillies. Right-handed, very good defensive player, not having a great offensive year. He's been a good offensive player in the past. Is he an upgrade over Bohm? Matt Chapman, I'll start with you, Oscar.
Matt Chapman is an all-star. He's a Gold Glove third baseman. But he's too high priced. You don't want another high price. Look, when I brought the name Willie Castro, he's not the name that comes up at the top of the list and being a high price guy. You need to think out of the box. That's my only suggestion would be think out of the box. Don't think the same way you thought about it before, because you are going to lose whatever farm system you have, the limited farm system you have. And Matt Chapman is going to cost you. The other thing, if the San Francisco Giants want to pay 90% of their salary, I'll definitely consider it, but they're not going to do that. So, that's a reality. It's the same thing that happened with Nick Castellanos, right? We wanted to get rid of Nick Castellanos, and we're paying for his salary this year.
Jeff, what's your thoughts on Chapman?
I'm not crazy about it. I'd rather have Alec Bowman, to be honest with you. He's a younger player. He's not as good as Matt Chapman, obviously, defensively, but he's providing a little more offensively than Matt Chapman is right now. And look, I like Matt Chapman, the player, but it's like what Oscar said. It's a high-price contract. You don't need that. That just spells like a win-now move. And even though the Giants are selling these guys and they're out of it, there are other guys on the Giants I think you can get.
All right, so there you go. There's a couple of things that are happening this around the Phillies. Obviously, 75 games in, Oscar. The Phillies are what?
Right now, 40 and 35. 40 and 35.
Pretty average.
What was that?
About a little average.
Yeah, they're slightly above average. One of the things that I was looking earlier. Just trying to get ready for the show. We have a good record. We are, against teams that are below 500, we are 20. We're 21-14 against teams that are about 500. We're 19-21. I mean, it continues to move because who gets up and who gets down. So we're playing at 500 ball. Let's put it that way, against 500 and above teams. And look, you needed to beat the Mets yesterday. I mean, that was a winnable game. I mean, I know that Aaron Nola allowed 2 home runs for Soto. First of all, Nola, come on. You cannot allow Soto to beat you with a couple of bombers. I mean, I know the third time he learned and he gave him base on balls, but you cannot let Soto. If Soto doesn't beat you, nobody else can beat you in that lineup. I mean, the way they played all year. So you cannot let Soto be the one that does the damage. And look, you have to go in and win the next 2 games. I mean, and you don't want to start with a bad sour. And we know what's happened over the last few years going up to Citi Field. Believe me, you got to beat the Mets here because you know what happens up there.
Jeff, after 75 games, the Phillies are what?
I would give them – I think they're an above-average baseball team. I do not think they are at the level of the division leaders, but they righted the ship. The Titanic did not hit the iceberg. They corrected the season, and I think they're going to be a playoff team. So this is what I'm looking at right now. I just personally think they can be better. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think people should stop with the World Series expectations. The playoffs are a crapshoot, as we all know. They could be the hot team going to the playoffs. They were last year, and it didn't work out in their favor. Maybe it will this year. I mean, I tend to think they're more of the team that played since Don Mattingly has taken over more than the team that obviously was 9-19 before Bob Thompson was let go.
I think there's 3 teams that are at the top of the tier, which are the Yankees, the Braves, and the Dodgers. Then comes a tier 2, and that's where the Phillies fall. In that tier 2, where the Brewers would be there, the Rays would be there, the Guardians, the White Sox this year, which are amazing. I mean, by the way, don't lose sight of the Washington Nationals. That team can hit, and they're right there. They're right there in the thick of things, and they have a very young team that can hit.
My last question, I want to ask Jeff. You're around this team day, at the ballpark. Do you get the sense or the vibe that something big is coming? Like, is there that feeling of like, nope, we're just going to ride this out. We're going to do what we've been doing, and the back of the baseball card will win out? Or do you get the sense that this is the year that Dombrowski finally takes that big swing that we always have been hearing about?
I think there's going to be marginal moves. I don't expect a major move like a Tariq Skubal, for example. I just don't think they have the horses to be able to make a deal like that. And I don't think they want to trade like a Gage Wood, or they want to trade an Andrew Painter or an Aiden Miller for that to happen. I just don't think their value's that high right now. I think they're going to just kind of go between the margins, right? Not going to be a splashy move, but there'll be a move that will make them better, and I think they'll take their shot going into the postseason.
All right, guys. Well, we know the trade deadline is coming up here over a month still, way over a month still. So let this play out. We've seen, hey, things change when Adolis Garcia got hurt. So that changed the dynamics of things. The left-handed bullpen spot, as Jeff pointed out, there's some reports that they're looking for a right-handed 5th starter right now. So we'll be keeping our eyes on that on Phillies Fastball, which you can hear daily right here on the Sports Bash on all social media platforms, and of course on YouTube. Oscar, Jeff, no Friday night baseball. What are you going to do with yourselves? No, Jeff went to Reading.
I'm watching some soccer. I'm enjoying the soccer, enjoying the victory of the U.S. I mean, the win of the U.S. and Brazil is coming up next, so that will be fun.
All right. Well, Jeff, you're at Reading. Who are you watching this weekend? What do you got out there?
I'm watching Brian Rincon. Gage Wood pitched last night. I'll be watching him. I'm going to watch Raylan Heredia, who, by the way, he's been trying to cover out the ball. He had 2 home runs last night. Top 30 prospect. It's like I say, some of these guys are better than what a lot of people give them credit for.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on all things Phillies right here on Phillies Fastball. Back on Monday, they have Phillies Weekly on Sunday night on all social media platforms. Jeff and Oscar, we'll see you guys on Monday.
Have a great weekend.
All right, everybody, there you go, our Phillies Fastball segment here on the Sports Bash live on 97.3 ESPN. We had to bring Jeff Curry in on the phone, but good to catch back up with him. He's in Reading tonight watching the Reading Phils. And as he said, look, he's keeping an eye on some of those minor league prospects. right around August 3rd of the trade deadline. Sports Bash this hour brought to you by Cross County Connection, 6 South Jersey Connects, providing fare-free transportation across southern Jersey. Connect to your job, a college, healthcare, shopping, government service, NJ Transit hubs, all at no cost to riders. For details, call 856-229-7571 or visit driveless.com. I think Earnshaw needs to use them. Didn't he say something happened to his car? Maybe he needs to use our friends at Cross County Connection. All right, coming up, NFL Friday 5. 5 best Week 6 games for 2026. We'll do them. We'll count them down. We'll break down the schedule, the week, next on the Sports Bash. All right, 5:33, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Time for the Friday Five best games of week number 6. We have reached week number 6. Can you believe it? We are moving along in the Friday Five, and you can check out the Friday Five each and every Friday right here on the Sports Service. By the way, we're going to tell you our winner for the Chachi's 13th floor $25 gift certificate before the end of the show. So if you've entered all week long, you have a chance for $25 gift card because the Phillies didn't score 13 runs in any of the games this week, which, hey, so what? You still get a chance for a $25 gift card to Chachi's 13th floor. Coming soon to Rafici's on the White Horse Bike-In app, Seek-In. Great spot. If you haven't been out there yet, check out Rafici's and make a stop upstairs when they open at Chachi's 13th floor. All right, week 6 in the NFL. Best week 6 games outside of the Birds game that you have the most interest in. When we get to week 6, we will check back and see if these games are still the best 6 games of the week. Are we ready?
Let's do this, Mike.
All right, so week 6, no Thursday nighter because it's the Friday Five, which means any game for Sunday and Monday is in play here. Eagles this week will play Carolina. All right, that's a 1 o'clock game. Friday 5 on my list, Houston, Jacksonville. That is a London game.
That definitely should be on the list, not just because you love the international games, Mike, but because those teams are probably fighting for the division all year long.
Well, they both won the division last year. Jacksonville won 13 games. What?
You said they both won the division. They didn't both win the division.
Well, Jacksonville won 13 games.
They both made the postseason.
Well, both playoff teams, yes.
Yeah.
Jacksonville won 13. They're both fighting for the division.
Right.
Jacksonville won 13 games, beating out Houston.
I was going to say, if they both won a division, that's impressive, actually.
Sometimes working with literal people is really hard, but we make do with it here on the show. We try anyway. Yes, they're both in the same division. Jacksonville won the division. They're both trying to win the division. This game would have a lot to do with that. I like the London games, but Jacksonville, they'll play back-to-back London games. They play Philly the week before in week 5. They'll play here in week 6. Houston with that great defense. Jacksonville, obviously, I think they won 8 in a row to win the division last year and ended up losing in the wild card round. Did they win a playoff game last year, Jacksonville? I know Houston won a playoff game.
I don't think I think Jacksonville lost to Denver, didn't they?
Yeah, the AFC playoffs was a little wonky with all the lack of play and all the teams out there. Next team in the Friday Five. Next teams, I should say, in the Friday Five. Yeah. How about? Yikes!
The Jags lost to the Bills last year in the first round.
Right, that was a good game. Dallas, Green Bay, Sunday night.
That's a big one. Good choice.
So Dallas, Green Bay, Sunday night, NFC East, Dallas, obviously. You got Green Bay, who, listen, I'm not a big Green Bayer here. Like I'm kind of like on Green Bay, but, they're going to be in the mix, you would imagine. They're going to be a team that obviously should be at least in the wild card mix here. And for a Sunday night is a pretty good game.
For sure.
Dallas, Green Bay. I don't have a whole heck of a lot to choose from here. How about Chargers, Kansas City?
I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't go with that one before you got to Cowboys, Packers.
Well, the whole Mahomes, but I think he should be back by then.
I mean, he's been practicing all mini camp. So,
I put them in most of mine, so this will be in there. This is definitely a Charger, Kansas City, 425 CBS.
The other thing with that game is that what's interesting, I want to know by that point in the year, how is the Mike McDaniel experiment going with the Chargers? We brought in a new OC. Jim Harbaugh is no longer overseeing the offense. I'm very intrigued.
Well, that's for one of them will try to win the division. They're both in the same division.
Right.
The winner of this game gets a leg up in that spot as well. All right. Yikes. How about Pittsburgh, Tampa? Is that next on the list of games?
I mean, it's on my list. I mean, I know you have this love-hate relationship with the Buccaneers. You don't really seem to think very highly of the Steelers, but I think these are two teams that will be in the mix throughout the whole year.
Yeah, I feel like they're both like 9-8, somewhere in that range.
9-8 can make postseason.
Yeah, no, they're both like wild card. Well, if you're 9-8 in the Central or the North, or the South, excuse me. Well, AFC North and the NFC South, I guess you got a shot.
Same difference. Yeah.
The other game would be Chicago, Atlanta.
Chicago, Atlanta should be fascinating, especially considering it's in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta, Tua, some weapons, team's better. I think they'll be better this year than last year. Chicago, playoff team a year ago, got to go on the road. But when you are saying those games aren't great, you'll hear why these games are in the mix. Here you are. Here's why. All right. Those are my Friday five. Houston, Jacksonville, Dallas, Green Bay, Chargers, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Tampa, and then Chicago, Atlanta. These games did not make it. Baltimore at Cleveland.
I think it just depends on, does Cleveland actually surprise anybody? Or are they just going to be black?
I don't think they're ready. I mean, the only way if Deshaun Watson all of a sudden has an outer body experience and goes back to the guy that was in Houston.
I mean, that would be insane.
And their defense shouldn't be as good as this year without Myles Garrett.
That's true.
Tennessee, Indianapolis.
That's out. I think Tennessee is going to be not great.
I know a lot of people nationally are liking that team as the team that goes from worst to first.
I just don't see it. Listen, I'm wrong. I like Cam Ward. I like their draft pick of Tate from Ohio State, but the fact that they just gave Simmons all that money today, to me, is a sign that they realize they don't have a lot of talent. They're trying to lock in the talent they do have.
Jets, New England.
Yeah, the Jets are going to get destroyed.
New Orleans, Giants.
This was a wild card for me for the Friday five. Saints are a candidate for worst to first. Giants, they're going to be more interesting this year with John Harbaugh and all that. I would say maybe if you were to maybe say, Mike, I'm really still not a believer in the Steelers and the Bucks, maybe you transition the Giants to Saints.
I don't hate that game. It's meh. It's just okay. Arizona Rams. Arizona's got nothing going for them.
Yeah, I got zero faith in the Cardinals.
I mean, I got a text earlier. Tanner McKee and a third-round pick for Marvin Harrison Jr. Wonder if Happy Hour Friday started really early today.
I was going to say, who sent that in?
I know it's a holiday today. People are off. We're having a little fun early.
Hey, good for you. That's what I say. You know what? If you're a few drinks in and you would have texted that in, I say cheers to you, buddy.
How about Buffalo, Vegas? You got any intrigue about
Mendoza? I mean, I have intrigue, but I don't know if it's enough intrigue for me to put on the Friday five.
Not a great slate of games. If the Raiders don't get on this slate, they're never getting in. And you got Buffalo to help you out here.
Right. Buffalo's going to elevate your profile.
Monday night, Washington, San Francisco. They're not terrible. I mean, Washington's the problem here. San Francisco, I think, is going to be pretty good. Washington's the one that I'm like, eh.
I mean,
that to me is the next game out.
Do you buy into any of this chatter coming out of Washington about how the guys are excited and they're invigorated with new coaches that came in? Or do you think it's all just guys to talk?
Well, my question with Washington is what's next for them? We talked about this the other day, I think, with DeCecco. Washington, when they had RG3, he came out of nowhere. They won a division, and it was like, man, we're going to have to deal with this guy for the next 10 years. And then he got hurt, and then he just was never the same. What's Jaden Daniels going to be this year? I think when you look at their offense, Debo's now gone. He was a guy that you brought in last year because you thought he was going to add a little tricky dimension. McLaurin's a year older. He was hurt a lot last year. You've got Krosky Merritt. I mean, he's a solid player, but not like, wow, look at our run game here. I don't know what scares you about the offense other than saying, okay, now Jaden Daniels is back. Defensively, I don't think that they're like, wow. So looking around at that team and saying, I think Washington, unless the quarterback just has a tremendous bounce back, look at that team that's pretty similar to they were a year ago. Right? I mean,
It's very similar. I mean, unless you want to say that because Terry McLaurin maybe is going to be healthier.
like I said, he's a year older. I mean, he was banged up last year. They added Styles, right? They drafted the Ohio State linebacker. So they added him to the defense. They didn't have a second-round pick. I think they took Antonio Williams, Clemson, wide receiver, in the third round. I just look at their offseason and say, what did they really do?
Debo Samuel is still a free agent. I mean, is there a chance that Washington just brings him back for training camp?
I actually heard Debo go to Indianapolis. Was one of the places that I heard for him. So that game on Monday night, I just think Washington's meh.
Yeah, I kind of tend to feel the same way because I still look at their team and I have a lot of questions about is all the coaching changes they made going to really pay off?
All right, there's your Friday five. We'll look back at those 6 games in week 6 and see if they still hold up. Maybe by week 6, that Washington team will prove me wrong. They'll be 5-1, or they'll be 4-1 going into week 6 and saying, "Hey, we're the game of the week on Monday Night Football," or maybe not. Check out the Friday Five every Friday right here on the Sports Match Live on 97.3 ESPN. Next Friday, we're live at Jersey Cal. They're having their grand opening celebration, and the Sports Bash will be there 2 to 6. Stop out, Jersey Cal, 7903 Ventnor Avenue in Margate. New Jersey Cal is open, and we will be there next Friday to celebrate it right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. This hour of the show brought to you by my friends down at Clark Moving and Storage. Yes, Clark's Moving and Storage, they did my big move. I was just talking about my buddy. He's looking to move. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, we're probably going to have to call somebody. And I said, well, you got to call Clark's Moving and Storage, 609-889-0780. And his answer was, well, we're probably moving out of the state. And I said, well, they're an authorized agent for Wheaton Worldwide, so they can move you anywhere across the country. 609-889-0780. And you know what he said? Thanks, Mike Hill. I'll call Clark's Moving and Storage. More Sports Bash coming up. We'll wrap up the show coming up next. 5:51, getting ready to get out of here on this Friday. Our Phillies lineup is always brought to you by Chachi's 13th Floor. Now, there is no lineup tonight, which means someone's winning a $25 gift card because no one scored 13 runs, or the Phillies didn't score 13 runs. Well, the Phillies didn't give up 13 either. But our new sponsor, Chachi's 13th Floor at Rafici's, coming soon on the White Horse Pike in Absecon. We've got a cool little thing for you guys now. Your chance to win a $100 gift card if the Phillies score 13th run. Get it? Chachi's 13th Floor, 13 runs. So if they score 13 runs, you'll get a $100 gift card. One lucky winner will pull at random. And if they don't score 13 runs, every Friday, we will pick one lucky winner who texted in all week long. We will pull from those names. And we got a winner for today who was playing along this week on the Chachi's 13th Floor Phillies lineup. And who do we got?
So we for today, we got Chad in Mays Landing. Chad, you're the winner of Villa Raffici $25 gift card. We will be reaching out to you to follow up with you about details of how to get your hands on that gift card.
Yeah, so next week on Monday, when the Phillies are back in action,
we're going to reset.
We will reset. It'll go back to a chance for a $100 gift card. So on Monday's show, when the Phillies play on Monday? Let me double check to make sure that, yes, they play Washington Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they play every day next week. So on Monday, when the Phillies lineup comes out, we'll read the lineup, and that's when you'll text in your name and where you're from. And if the Phillies score 13 runs that night, you will win a $100 gift card. If they don't, we'll try again on Tuesday and all the way through the week. Nobody scores 13 runs. Phillies don't score 13 runs. On Friday, we'll pick a winner for a $25 gift card. So, Chad, you just won a $25 gift card to Villa Raffici's and Chachi's 13th Floor, which is coming soon to the White Horse Pike in Absecon.
You got any happy hour Friday picks?
Oh, yes, I did. Blue Claw at Myers Lighthouse.
Okay.
Blue Claw. Yummy. That is a delicious new IPA that they have down there. And last night, had a little beer and a pizza for a Thursday night. We're watching the Phils and went with Shared Intent from the Seed.
Okay. I was drinking Ludlam's lawn chairs at the beach last weekend.
Ooh.
So a bit of a Pilsner.
Lawn chair at the beach. Yes, I went with Blue Claw from Myers Lighthouse. Stopped in there on Saturday last week and had a little Blue Claw, which is their new hazy IPA. You also could try the hole-in-one. Very good one.
Hole-in-one is very good.
That'll do it for me. That's our show today. Best of the Sports Bash is coming up next. Josh has Hanging with Henning tomorrow right after the Locker Room on 97.3.